Chapter 35:29. Big Brother, do you still think of this consort as your little sister? Xiao Yulu's beautiful eyes were overflowing with ruthlessness. Why would you rather help an outsider and go against this queen? The expression on Xiao Yinyan's handsome face didn't change. His gaze was also calm, and not a hint of emotion could be seen. You are Princess Yulu, the Empyrean lady of without embroiling city. He paused, raised his eyes, and stared straight into Xiao Yulu's. I'm not going against Princess Yulu. I'm just speaking the truth. You. Xiao Yulu was so angry that her face turned red. She pointed at Xiao Yinyan with clenched teeth, and her eyes reddened. Yu Jiwen foolishly looked at Xiao Yinyan's face that was as handsome as a god, lightly bit her lower lip, and said with a wrong tone, Big Brother Yinyan, even if Sister Yulu is the Empyrean fairy of without embroiling city, her original identity was still the second daughter of the Qiao family, your biological sister. Are you going to stand in front of her and help those who want to deal with her and criticize her? Listening to such accusations, Xiao Yinyan didn't even bat an eyelid. He glanced sideways at the man behind him. A strand of silver hair fluttered on his handsome face. It made his black eyes shine even brighter. I didn't see brother pay deal with Princess Yulu. I also didn't blame Princess Yulu. His voice was very calm, and he was merely stating the facts. The reason why I'm standing here is because I've always seen the overbearing person being you. Xiao Yulu was swept by his gaze. His face immediately turned green and white. She clenched her fists tightly, her fingers leaving circles of marks on her palms. Big Brother, am I that kind of person in your eyes? Her voice was still a little choked. Paired with the white gauze, it made her look even more pitiful. You know best what kind of person he is. Xiao Yinyan had no intention of leaving Xiao Yulu any face. Xiao Yulu gritted her teeth and her body tensed up. She was so angry that she was trembling. There were already many citizens gathered around to watch the treasure gathering, and her arrival. This caused more citizens to gather over. The drama had just happened during the day. Now there was a good show to watch. The citizens, who didn't have any entertainment after dinner, naturally rushed here without stopping. In front of almost 80% of the citizens, Xiao Yulu was completely embarrassed by Xiao Yulu's words. Seeing this, Yu Jiwen's face turned red. She grabbed Xiao Yulu's arm and glared at Xiao Yinyan with red eyes. Big Brother Yinyan, you've never been like this before. Big Sister Yulu is your younger sister, and she just returned to without embroiling city today. Yet, instead of staying at the Qiao clan to welcome Big Sister Yulu, you came to the treasure gathering hall, and you even spoke so harshly to Big Sister Yulu, completely disregarding the relationship between the two of you as siblings. You. She raised her trembling hand and pointed at Xiao Yinyan as tears streamed down her face. Have you fallen for that B*TCH? In order to please that bitch, you became like this. What was I like before? How is it now? What does this have to do with you? Xiao Yinyan glanced at Yu Jiwen indifferently. Don't speak as if you know me very well. Third miss you, I'm not familiar with you at all. It's not up to an outsider like you to interfere in the affairs of the Qiao clan. His voice paused slightly, and his ink-black eyes slightly darkened. Chapter 35:30. Yu Jiwen's eyes widened as she looked at Xiao Yinyan in shock. It was as if she couldn't believe that Xiao Yinyan would say such ruthless words. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Yu Jiwen lowered her head and didn't dare to say anything else. Xiao Yulu glared at Yu Jiwen and cursed her inwardly. Then she pushed Yu Jiwen's hand away and stared at Xiao Yinyan coldly. Big Brother, since you're so heartless that you won't even acknowledge me as your sister for that girl, then don't blame me for not giving you face. Xiao Yinyan frowned. What do you want to do? I don't want to do anything. Xiao Yulu's eyes were cold, and her expression was ruthless. I just want to teach the owner of the treasures exchange Pei Sheng a lesson. She pointed a slender finger at Pei Sheng and said word by word, Pei Sheng, I'll give you two choices. First, get over here right now and kneel on the ground to admit that the treasures exchange broke the bet. Second, I'll smash the treasures exchange right now. Princess Yu, Lu. Qiao Yinyan's face darkened when he heard those arrogant words. You're without embroiling city's Empyrean fairy. You represent without embroiling city. Aren't you afraid of losing the face of without embroiling city by being so arrogant and willful? You're the first young master of the Qiao family, a genius with all kinds of honors in without embroiling city. If you're willing to disregard family ties for a girl you've just met, why should I be afraid? Qiao Yulu sneered and didn't waste any more words with Qiao Yinyan. She stared coldly at Pei Sheng with a burning gaze. He swiftly raised his palm and smashed it down towards Pei Sheng. That palm strike was completely different from the one that Qiao Yinyan had blocked earlier. The girl's white dress was blown away. The surging wave was like a tidal wave, carrying with it a boundless killing intent. Qiao Yinyan's expression changed drastically. He quickly pulled Pei Sheng over and thrust his palm toward Qiao Yilu. That palm strike created a shock wave that was extremely violent. The wave of air that it created was like a raging wave that tore through the air. The surrounding citizens spat out mouthfuls of blood and flew backward, falling heavily to the ground. Some of the weaker ones even fainted. Qiao Yinyan hurriedly retracted his palm and looked at the fallen citizens with a livid expression. He glared at Qiao Yilu and said, How much longer are you going to make a scene? This isn't the Linglong Hall. It's not a place where you can mess around. If these citizens die, it will be your fault. Qiao Yilu sneered. If you don't want the citizens to get hurt again, then move aside and let this Empress smash treasure gathering. Qiao Yinyan gritted his teeth. I didn't expect you to become like this. Qiao Yilu raised her chin proudly. Everything I do is for without embroiling city. Big brother, this consort will ask you one last time. Are you going to move or not? Qiao Yinyan clenched his fists tightly. His body tensed up because of the atmosphere, and his muscles were firm. He glared at Qiao Yilu with his dark eyes. Brother Qiao. Pei Sheng's face was pale. He put a hand on Qiao Yinyan's arm. You can't fight anymore. The citizens will get hurt. He turned his head and looked at the treasure-gathering exchange behind him. His eyes reddened involuntarily. He clenched his fists and said in a low, hoarse voice, We can't let her smash treasure-gathering either. This is not only the brand that I've guarded for 5 years. It's also the blood, sweat, and tears of Aluo and us. Chapter 35-31. I choose the first option, kneel. Admit the violation of the bet and accept the punishment. Only in this way could they prevent the citizens from getting hurt and protect the treasure's trading house. But once he admitted it, he might. Pei Sheng lowered his head and clenched his fists even tighter. Are you crazy? Qiao Yinyan grabbed Pei Sheng's shoulder. Her goal is to force you to admit that the treasure's trading house violated the bet. In this way, she will win the bet between her and Luo. Pei Sheng's face was pale, and his whole body was stiff. Qiao Yinyan pulled him back and looked at Qiao Yilu with an unfriendly expression. You are the Empyrean fairy of without embroiling city. Do you think you are qualified to be the Empyrean fairy if you don't care about the citizens' lives? His brows were tightly knitted. The expression on his face was covered with frost. Qiao Yilu only sneered. Big Brother also said that I am the Empyrean fairy of without embroiling city. In without embroiling city, I can do whatever I want. Besides, it's the honor of the citizens to sacrifice their lives for this empress. Her words caused the faces of the citizens to change. They stared at Qiao Yilu in disbelief. They couldn't believe that their Empyrean fairy would say something so irresponsible. You are simply... Qiao Yinyan's breathing quickened, his chest rising and falling. He could no longer describe Xiao Yulu's selfishness and arrogance. Xiao Yulu snorted arrogantly, her red lips burning under her veil. Big brother, let's continue. I also want to see the strength of a young genius. She slid down. The flames on her body surged again. A hurricane-like attack fell again. Qiao Yinyan instinctively activated the dark force in his body, wanting to fight back. But his gaze fell on the citizens who had fallen to the ground. His counterattack paused for a moment. It was just a momentary pause. Xiao Yulu's violent dark force had already blasted over. Amidst the white light, it reflected Xiao Yulu's smug smile. Qiao Yinyan's face paled. He gritted his teeth and stood still, planning to take this attack for Peisheng. Just then, bang! A deep explosion sounded in the air. That ferocious attack was forcibly intercepted in midair. Immediately after, the attack dissipated in midair like smoke. Not a single trace was left behind. A slender figure appeared in midair where the profound strength had dissipated. The girl's light purple dress fluttered like a butterfly's wings. A white veil covered her beautiful face. In her hand, there was a fan that looked like a raging flame. On the fan, there was clearly a visible fluctuation of profound strength, which was spreading out in all directions. Qiao Yinyan's eyes were filled with shock when he saw the scene before him. The surrounding citizens were also stunned by this shocking and surprising scene. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the slender figure that had suddenly appeared. How is this possible? Xiao Yulu took 2 steps back in shock. How could you possibly break through my power? She was able to successfully carve out a place for herself among thousands of women in the Linglong Palace and successfully climb to the position of the mysterious fairy. It was enough to prove her strength. Even the other 2 Empyrean fairies wouldn't dare to guarantee that they would be able to easily break through her attack. But the girl in front of them did it. Chapter 35-32. When did the treasure gathering violate the bet? Why didn't I know about it? The young lady's clear and melodious voice was pleasant to listen to. That light purple dress fluttered, dazzling one's eyes. Yi Qing Luo's feet landed steadily in front of Qiao Yinyan. Her hair, which was not tied up, was hanging down loosely. Her long and narrow eyes curved slightly, outlining the outline of a demonic arc. The white veil covered half of her face. The young lady's pink lips could be vaguely seen, adding some mysterious demonic charm to the young lady. You! Xiao Yulu's sight was instantly attracted by the young lady in front. Her face suddenly darkened. The bottom of her eyes gathered a whirlpool which couldn't be dispersed. Everyone could see that, although the young lady was wearing a veil covering half of her face. But even so, it couldn't cover up the young lady's gorgeous beauty. Especially, she was also wearing a veil. When the 2 of them stood together, she was instantly suppressed by a few levels. Originally, she was still considered a beauty of the generation, with an ethereal air. After comparing with the young lady in front of her, she had completely become a foil. This knowledge made Xiao Yulu's 5 fingers suddenly clenched into a fist. Princess! Kai Dai, who was next to her, when she saw that person, her expression changed slightly. It's her. At that time, on the way back to the Qiao family, the little beggar. At that time, I felt that this young lady's eyes looked like a fox, so I let the old maid who followed the princess from Linglong Palace bring her to the alley to secretly settle it, but this young lady, not only did she not die, but also extremely arrogantly jumped around, sowing enmity with Princess Yulu. In the afternoon, after Kai Dai heard about the bet, she specially went to the alley where the old maid left, to confirm whether the young lady was the little beggar she saw earlier. When she reached the alley, what she found were the 2 old maids' corpses, according to the situation at the scene. That was 2 old maids killing each other, causing both of them to die. But Kai Dai thought it must be that young lady who did it. Useless thing. Qiao Yulu regained her senses and gave Kai Dai a slap on the face. Kai Dai was sent flying, but she still struggled to climb up, kneeling on the ground. It's this servant's fault. It's this servant's fault. Princess, please calm your anger. Don't harm your body. Xiao Yulu vented all the resentment in her stomach on this slap. As soon as Kai Dai opened her mouth, she spat out mouthfuls of blood. However, Kai Dai still didn't care. He kept kowtowing and apologizing. Fresh blood stained the ground beneath her. If you want to put on this kind of master-servant drama, do it in your Qiao family. Don't pollute the air in front of the treasure-gathering exchange hall. Yi Qing Luo sneered as her pink lips curled up, her eyes filled with contempt. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you've hooked onto this consort's big brother. Xiao Yulu gritted her teeth as she stared furiously at Yi Qing Luo. You dare to say that you didn't go against our bet? Of course I dare. Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth without any hesitation. As she lazily raised the corners of her eyes, Mysterious Maiden didn't allow any explanation and rushed to the treasure gathering, beating and scolding, and even wanted to make a move on the treasure gathering's boss, forcefully demolishing the treasure gathering. She raised her wrist, her fair, slender fingers gently pressed against her lower jaw. The auction has yet to officially start. Mysterious Maiden couldn't wait to find trouble. Could it be that she felt that she would definitely lose and wanted to find a way out for herself? As she said that, she clicked her tongue. Chapter 35-33 TSK. Even if Mysterious Maiden loses this bet, at most you just have to kneel down and shout that you're a waste. This isn't painful or itchy, and you won't lose a few kilograms of flesh. She sighed again. I'm not like you. If you lose, you'll lose your entire person. Following that, she raised her head again. Her long and narrow eyes looked at Xiao Yulu with sincerity as she spoke in a considerate manner. Since Mysterious Maiden can't afford to lose, then I'll reluctantly let you off. This bet, let's call it off. From the start to the end, Yi Qing Luo didn't give Xiao Yulu's side any chance to speak. She continued talking on her own. Xiao Yulu's face twisted. Looking at Xiao Yulu's malevolent face, which couldn't even be concealed by the veil, Yi Qing Luo started to laugh unkindly. The feeling of occasionally being a flourishing white lotus wasn't bad at all, especially this kind of disgusting smile, and then looking at the other party, being disgusted till she couldn't rebuke. It was simply too satisfying. What are you hinting at? Xiao Yulu bellowed angrily. This lady can't afford to lose? It's obviously you who have violated the bet between us. You've already lost. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as she blinked. Did I hint at anything? Mysterious Maiden must be feeling guilty, so you're thinking too much. Her words came to a halt as her smile suddenly froze on her face. Her pair of long and narrow eyes became sharp and fierce. Her entire aura at this moment was suddenly unleashed. Mysterious Maiden keeps saying that I violated the bet then. Will Mysterious Maiden please explain clearly, how did I violate the bet, causing Mysterious Maiden to personally come over to the Treasures Exchange Hall, wanting to demolish the place and to make a move on Pei Sheng? Her sharp aura caused people to be frightened. If Mysterious Maiden is unable to give a suitable reason, I will definitely pursue the matter of Mysterious Maiden coming over to the Treasures Exchange Hall today. Xiao Yulu's expression turned sinister because of Yi Qing Luo's words, as she forcefully wiped out that immortal qi in her body. Standing in front of Yi Qing Luo, facing her who had unleashed her aura, that was even more inconspicuous. Xiao Yulu's expression turned even uglier. Everything that was happening right now was completely different from the life she had imagined after returning to Without Embroiling City. This was the first day she had returned to Without Embroiling City as the Empyrean Fairy. He would become a laughing stock. Her prestige had been completely destroyed in an instant. All of this was because of that bitch. Xiao Yulu stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo as her beautiful eyes were filled with murderous intent. The bet between us. You had personally agreed that the items auctioned in the treasure-gathering trading hall's auction. Hell Palace and Xiao family will absolutely not interfere. She raised her hand and pointed angrily at Xiao Yinyan. But you seduced my older brother and attempted to use him to seize the honor of being the best trading house this time. The fact that this consort's older brother is in the treasures gathering exchange is the best evidence. When Yi Qing Luo heard that, she couldn't help but burst out laughing. Mysterious maiden, is there a hole in your brain? Let's not talk about the fact that the Qiao family couldn't interfere in our bet, right? Let's just say that Yin Yan is here. He didn't provide any auction items from treasure gathering, nor did he provide a single crystal stone from treasure gathering. So how can he be considered to have interfered in our bet? Her gaze swept past the citizens who were crowding around. Her gaze fell onto several citizens who had fainted on the ground. Chapter 35-34. This was also the reason why Yi Qing Luo started from the beginning. The reason why she only let Xiao Yinyan do the manual work. It was to prevent Xiao Yulu from finding excuses to act shamelessly. But Yi Qing Luo really didn't expect this. The auction hadn't even started yet. Xiao Yulu couldn't wait to rush over. She really didn't know this kind of brain. How did she become without embroiling cities, mysterious maiden? Or could it be that Xiao Yulu was afraid of her from the bottom of her heart? So once she found an opportunity, she immediately wanted to deal with her, in case she gave her a chance to develop. Yi Qing Luo's long and narrow eyes curved. If mysterious maiden can't afford to lose and wants to find an excuse to disrupt the bet between us, then she should find a better reason. Slut, don't keep saying that I can't afford to lose and pour dirty water on me. Do you think I don't know your dirty thoughts? Xiao Yulu flew into a rage out of humiliation. Yi Qing Luo's eyes were cold as she crossed her arms over her chest. Her brows seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. Who is the one splashing dirty water? Who is the one with dirty thoughts? Everyone can see it clearly. She raised her chin slightly. The veil was attached to her lower jaw. The lines were soft and the outline was soft. One could almost imagine what kind of beauty the young lady had under the veil. The young lady's eyes were still half closed and her expression was lazy, giving off a kind of arrogant feeling, as if she didn't put Xiao Yulu in her eyes. You're still quibbling. Xiao Yulu was so angry that she lost all rationality from Yi Qing Luo's attitude. She could even feel that the eyes of the surrounding citizens were filled with disdain and contempt as they looked at her. It shouldn't be like this. She should be high and mighty, enjoying everyone's admiration. Xiao Yulu's eyes were red and her gloomy eyes were filled with a cold, murderous intent. Slut! I want to kill you, slut! She roared as her figure moved swiftly and her entire body burst out in flames. That strong flame almost caused the surrounding air to fall into a crack. Even the citizens could see with their naked eyes the ripples in the air. Wherever the chi wave went, there was a huge explosion. The citizens' faces turned pale. Their bodies felt like they were being crushed by a heavy mountain. The 5 viscera and 6 bowels in his chest were being squeezed by an invisible force. Therefore, it was said that one had to be cautious when reading gossip. If one was not careful, they might accidentally get into trouble. Xiao Yulu. Seeing this, Xiao Yinyan anxiously roared Xiao Yulu's name. His face darkened. Do you really want to turn without embroiling city into a mess before you stop? Xiao Yinyan glared at Xiao Yulu. He took a big step forward and was about to release his dark force to force Xiao Yulu back. Just as he took a step, his shoulder was gently pressed by a small hand. Yinyan, her target is me. The young girl pressed down on his shoulder and slowly walked past him. Facing the raging hurricane and the terrifying air wave, she walked straight ahead. The clear and melodious voice reverberated in his ears. Xiao Yinyan's pupils instantly contracted. His fingers reflexively tried to grab the girl in front of him. But the moment he stretched out his hand, the girl had already walked a few steps away. His hand grabbed nothing but air. "Luo, you're not her." Qiao Yinyan's urgent voice came to an abrupt halt, because he saw the moment the girl's figure merged into the hurricane that Qiao Yulu had created. He saw the girl suddenly raise her leg and kick Qiao Yulu's abdomen. She was as fast as lightning, and the kick was very powerful. Chapter 35. Bam! A loud thud resounded, accompanied by Qiao Yulu's screams. Qiao Yulu landed heavily on the ground. There was even a shallow pit on the ground. Qiao Yulu coughed violently and spat out mouthfuls of blood. Yi Qing Luo slowly retracted her leg and tilted her head. Her eyes curved. "Since you want to fight, why bother with so many fancy moves? Isn't it obvious that you are just standing there waiting for me to beat you?" Qiao Yulu was so angry that her chest hurt even more when she heard this, and blood kept surging up. She opened her mouth several times, but all she spat out was a mouthful of blood. Qiao Yinyan, he really didn't know what kind of expression to use to face this matter. He originally thought that Luo wouldn't be Princess Yulu's opponent at all. Unexpectedly, Luo would take advantage of the time when Princess Yulu was still releasing her profound energy to directly kick her. Well, what Luo said did make sense. On the battlefield, the enemy wouldn't wait for you to release your profound energy. They would set up their formation and then fight with you openly. "Lass, you are too valiant." Even Old Man Tsang in the Azure Dew Bracelet was shocked by Yi Qing Luo's actions. Old Man Tsang expressed that no matter where his daughter went, she would always be awesome. His heart was so tired. This realm couldn't be compared to Nirvana realm. Yi Qing Luo's strength was indeed not the top in the realm, especially when facing Qiao Yulu. Qiao Yulu could become without embroiling city's mysterious fairy and dare to challenge the 15th grade sage, profound genius Qiao Yinyan, which was enough to show that her strength was not below Qiao Yinyan. But Yi Qing Luo's actions, Old Man Tsang couldn't help but facepalm. If there were any accidents, that Dizun brat would definitely tear his old bones apart with his bare hands. I'm not stupid. Of course I have to take advantage of her arrogance and reveal a flaw to directly deal a heavy blow. If I don't break her chi, when she really starts to fight, I will be dead meat. Yi Qing Luo curled her lips. She naturally knew the gap between her and Qiao Yulu's strength. It was also because of Qiao Yulu's confidence. She had to show how powerful her strength was, creating all kinds of hurricanes, pressure, profound waves, etc. to set off. Only then would she have the chance to destroy Qiao Yulu's pretentious act with a kick. It wasn't that she was tough, but rather that she was sinister. He could only blame Qiao Yulu for being silly. "Bitch! How dare you attack Princess Yulu? Do you know what Princess Yulu represents? You! The city lord will definitely not let you off." Yu Jiwen rushed to Qiao Yulu's side and supported her. Yi Qing Luo curled her lips lazily. "Remember this well, my name is Di Luo, and I'm now a partner of the conglomerate exchange. If you still have such a cheap mouth, I don't mind teaching you some manners." Yu Jiwen's eyes were filled with rage as she stared at Yi Qing Luo, but she didn't dare to say the word slut. In the morning, she had already suffered a huge loss in Yi Qing Luo's hands. She still remembered that feeling. She was relying on Qiao Yulu, and now Qiao Yulu had fallen. What should she do? Yu Jiwen was angry, but towards Yi Qing Luo, she had an instinctive fear. While she was cowering, she suddenly caught a glimpse of a figure in the crowd. Chapter 35-36. What nonsense are you talking about? Pei Sheng's face turned pale. "Third miss you, what are you thinking? How dare you slander Luo? Am I not speaking the truth? I think you've colluded with people from other cities to betray without embroiling city." Yu Jiwen roared coldly. "All these years, Pei Sheng had been silently enduring all the abuse, suspicion, and accusations. Faced with Yu Jiwen's accusation, he didn't know how to deal with it. His face was red, full of humiliation and anger. You're slandering me. Enough. What's with the noise? A calm and majestic voice came from the crowd. Immediately, Castellan Lu, dressed in a luxurious robe, strode over. Castellan Lu's face was livid, and his eyebrows were full of anger. What's going on? Why are they fighting again? Yu Jiwen cried out as soon as she saw Castellan Lu. Castellan Lu, look at Sister Yilu. She wants to kill her. Castellan Lu's gaze fell on Xiao Yilu, who was lying in Yu Jiwen's arms and vomiting blood. His expression changed drastically. What happened to Princess Yilu? Who dared to hurt her like this? Quick, someone, bring Princess Yilu to Without Wang Medical Hall. He directly ignored the her Yu Jiwen mentioned. A large group of people behind him squeezed forward to carry Xiao Yilu. At the forefront was a man in his 20s, dressed in luxurious robes. He stared at Xiao Yilu with naked lust. The man was about to carry Xiao Yilu from Yu Jiwen's arms, but he was stopped by a pair of hands. Thank you for your concern, young master. The princess is only used to being served by this servant. This servant can support the princess. Kai Dai was one step ahead of him and directly held Xiao Yilu in her arms. The man's expression immediately changed, and he was just about to speak. He was about to speak when Castellan Lu interrupted him. Kai Dai, I'll have to trouble you. Then he looked at the man. Tian Che, why don't you lead the way for Kai Dai? The man called Tian Che looked a little pale. After exchanging glances with City Lord Lu, he gritted his teeth and strode out of the crowd. City Lord Lu ignored him and looked around angrily. Princess Yu Lu is the Empyrean Lady of Without Embroiling City. She represents Without Embroiling City. Who is it that injured Princess Yu Lu so badly? Are they looking down on Without Embroiling City? His eyes were like torches as he pointed around. Speak. Who is it? The citizens who were still conscious lowered their heads, not daring to speak. All of them shrank their necks and lowered their presence. He was afraid that he would be singled out by City Lord Lu for questioning. Finally, City Lord Lu looked at Xiao Yinyan. His voice softened a little, but his face was still filled with rage. Young Master Xiao, do you know who it is? How dare he attack Princess Yu Lu in Without Embroiling City? This person is definitely targeting Without Embroiling City. Xiao Yinyan's face darkened. His black eyes were as deep as ink as he stared at City Lord Lu. Yi Qing Luo, who had been watching the show for a long time, felt that City Lord Lu's acting was not bad, especially the part where he lied through his teeth and scolded indirectly. His acting couldn't be any more realistic. He was totally acting as himself. City Lord Lu probably knew about the situation here long ago. Now he was pretending to be completely unaware. Chapter 35-37. Was he trying to make use of the citizens' public opinion to target her? If it was any other time, this method might really work. But unfortunately, Xiao Yilu had already dug her own grave earlier. It was only the first day since she returned to Without Embroiling City. She hadn't gained enough favorable impression points in front of the citizens. She hadn't done anything that would make the citizens remember her in their hearts, touching them for a lifetime. She started to dig her own grave. The citizens didn't have any favorable impression towards this mysterious fairy. So, how would she possibly react to City Lord Lu's hint? Would you be willing to follow a boss who treated you like an ant and didn't care about your life at all? No one was willing to be under someone else. Those who were willing to be under someone else was only because the other party had something that was worth it. Xiao Yilu didn't care about their lives. She even felt that even if they were to die, it would be their honor. Honor? Hee. Her face was filled with honor. They only wanted to live, not this honor. Because of this, no matter what Lord Lu was brainwashing them passionately, the citizens all kept a straight face and lowered their heads, not willing to talk to City, Lord Lu, not daring to talk to him. Looking at City, Lord Lu's gradually darkening face, Yi Qing Luo crossed her arms and touched her chin with the other hand. The veil stuck to her contours, and her eyes were filled with evilness. This City, Lord Lu's ambition wasn't small. If she didn't see wrongly, that man who looked to be in his 20s and had regular facial features, but exuded a sense of lust should be City, Lord Lu's son. She specially paid attention to him earlier. That man and City, Lord Lu's brows had some similarities. Knowing that there was a difference between a man and a woman. City, Lord Lu even asked his son to carry Qiao Yulu to the medical hall in front of the citizens. Sima Zhao's intention was known to everyone. This City, Lord Lu actually wanted Qiao Yulu to be his daughter-in-law. Under the watchful eyes of the public, Qiao Yulu was hugged intimately by City, Lord Lu's son. Qiao Yulu's reputation would be completely ruined. Her life would be hung with Lu Tianche's name. Other than marrying Lu Tianche, she had no other choice. But the maid beside Qiao Yulu was quick-witted. However, if City Lord Lu wanted to, he was afraid that a maid wouldn't be able to stop his plan. If Qiao Yulu really got together with City Lord Lu's son, he felt that this show was quite exciting. Yi Qing Luo mischievously thought, "Young Master Qiao." City Lord Lu, who had not received a response for a long time, had a livid expression on his face. He abruptly shouted. Yi Qing Luo regained her senses from the shock. Qiao Yinyan knitted his brows tightly. He had naturally guessed City Lord Lu's motive. He was about to speak. The girl's clear and melodious voice came from behind him. "City Lord Lu, you've come at the right time. I just happened to have something to discuss with you." Yi Qing Luo slowly walked to the front of City Lord Lu as her long and narrow eyes curved slightly, smiling faintly at City Lord Lu. Seeing Yi Qing Luo at such a close distance, City Lord Lu's pupils obviously contracted several times. Apparently, he was astonished by Yi Qing Luo's breathtaking beauty and her extraordinary temperament. However, he quickly adjusted his expression and said, "Miss D, what can I do for you?" Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. TSK, he had been exposed again. If City Lord Lu didn't know what had happened here, then it was impossible for him to know that her surname was D. Chapter 35-38. City Lord Lu's lips curled into a smile. The bet between Miss D and Princess Yulu was just a verbal explanation, and there weren't any clear rules. He paused as his smile became even more refined. Miss D mentioned breaking the bet rules. We have to see which part of the rules are broken. Yi Qing Luo. Sly old fox. He actually played word games with her in such a serious and shameless manner. No wonder in the 21st century, everything had to be written clearly in black and white. So angry, but she still had to maintain her smile. Yi Qing Luo smiled. Mysterious Maiden brought people to the treasure gathering to create trouble, shouting to beat and kill, and even smashing the treasure exchange hall. Isn't that considered breaking the bet rules? City Lord Lu smiled as he looked at the treasure exchange hall, and looked at Pei Sheng. Boss Pei isn't injured and the treasure exchange hall isn't smashed. This City Lord cannot just rely on Miss D's one-sided words and suspect Princess Yulu. Yi Qing Luo. This ability to lie through one's teeth was really awesome. Yi Qing Luo was able to maintain her composure when she heard this. But Pei Sheng couldn't hold it in. What one-sided words? I'm not injured and the treasure exchange wasn't smashed. That's because Luo protected me and the treasure exchange. You want evidence, isn't it? Look over there. Pei Sheng pointed to the surroundings, at those commoners who were injured because of Qiao Yulu. There were at least 100 of them lying on the ground. There were quite a number of them who were sitting weakly on the ground. Those people were injured by Princess Yulu. They are the witnesses. Pei Xing's eyes widened as he gritted his teeth in anger. City Lord Lu only swept a glance as his smile remained unchanged. Really? He smiled as he looked at the commoners, as he casually raised his hand. A guard casually grabbed a commoner and brought him over. The injuries on your body, who injured you? Is it Princess Yulu? City Lord Lu smiled as he looked at the commoners as he asked. The commoners' pupils dilated as their faces turned pale. Their eyes subconsciously looked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Just one look, before they could express the emotions in their eyes. Their bodies suddenly felt a sharp pain. The commoners cried out in pain as they looked at City Lord Lu in terror. No, not Princess Yulu. Then who is it? Lord Lu looked at Yi Qing Luo meaningfully. The citizens' faces turned even paler. However, even under the intense pain, the citizen still said in a hoarse voice, "This commoner hurt himself." Governor Lu's face sank slightly. Just as he was about to speak, a fragrant scent entered his nose. The girl's figure had unknowingly approached him. Yi Qing Luo's slender hand was placed on that citizen's body. His fingers moved slightly. The citizens had already broken free from the suppression of the guards. Yi Qing Luo supported the citizens as she calmly raised her eyes. Does City Lord Lu think I'm an idiot, or do you think I'm easy to bully just because I'm alone? You threatened the citizens in front of me, and even wanted to smear my name. I don't know if the Empyrean Fairy will be grateful to you for scheming on her behalf. Her tone was full of sarcasm. Her long and narrow eyes were slightly raised. Amidst the coquettishness, there was a frightening, cold glint. That gaze sent chills down Lord Lu's spine. He frowned and subconsciously took a step back. The expression on his face froze awkwardly. Chapter 35-39. City Lord Lu better be clear that the reason why I agreed to this so-called bet is because of the Qiao family. She asked Pei Sheng to help the injured citizens down as she walked straight towards City Lord Lu, getting close to him, bringing along an oppressive pressure. City Lord Lu took another step back. A sliver of fear flashed past his steely green face. This young lady. Her aura was so strong to such an extent. Seeing the young lady getting closer, his entire body emitted a chilly intent. Just as she was one step away from City Lord Lu, Yi Qing Luo stopped in her tracks as she raised her head slightly. A pair of crafty eyes, as deep as a lake, was locked onto City Lord Lu. City Lord Lu, you know that I am a guest of the Hell Palace. To be able to get to know the Hell Palace means that I am not a normal person. Her lips curled slightly as her voice was chilly. If you force me into a corner, I don't mind bringing the Hell Palace to play around in without embroiling City. Anyway, this so-called bet is just a verbal explanation and there are no actual rules, so I can totally ignore it. Her voice paused slightly. Her long and narrow eyes curved into an arc, looking even more devilish. You know, when the Hell Palace's people go crazy, there's no way to stop them. You can try and see if the Ling Long Palace will lend a helping hand. You. City Lord Lu's face flushed red as he recalled the Hell Palace's senior, who listened to Yi Qing Luo's every word. All his anger was suppressed deep in his heart. This young lady was really vengeful. Using what he said, she returned it back to him. Unfortunately, the powerhouse behind her was the Hell Palace, which no one dared to offend. City Lord Lu's face was steely green. What do you want? I give Mysterious Maiden 2 choices. Yi Qing Luo smiled as she raised one finger. First, Mysterious Maiden goes against the rules of the bet, which can be considered as losing the bet between us in advance. She admits defeat and does what she promised me. Make Qiao Yilu kneel down and shout 3 times that she was a waste? This was impossible. City Lord Lu pursed his lips as his face turned steely green. And the second choice? Second. Yi Qing Luo raised up a finger once again, Mysterious Maiden will apologize for slandering Pei Sheng and slandering the treasures today, and guarantee that before the auction, she will not commit any more mistakes. This bet I will be merciful, and continue to bet with her. Let Xiao Yilu apologize? That was impossible. How could Xiao Yilu choose between these two options? He seemed to have seen through City Lord Lu's thoughts. Yi Qing Luo kindly reminded, if Mysterious Maiden hasn't given a choice by tomorrow morning, then I shall be merciful and help her make the third choice, which is what I said earlier. Let the seniors from Hell Palace come to Without Embroiling City and enjoy City Lord Lu's hospitality. Yi Qing Luo expressed that she was using her power to bully others. While Old Lai was not here, it felt good to use Old Lai's name to intimidate others. As expected, when she said the third option, it was too late. City Lord Lu's eyes were ignited with anger as his steely green face stared at Yi Qing Luo in shock, as though he couldn't wait to skin Yi Qing Luo alive. Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders indifferently. City Lord Lu better go back and discuss with Mysterious Maiden first. Don't show such a scary look, as though I've bullied you. Her slender fingers touched the corner of her lips as she covered her mouth and gave a light laugh. The veil was like a thin wing, which was even nicer to look at with her creamy fingers. Chapter 3540. City Lord Lu was so infuriated that his entire body was tensed up. His fists were clenched so tightly that his veins were popping out. His chest was heaving up and down violently. I will pass on your words to Princess Yulu without missing a single word. Remember, it's tomorrow morning. Yi Qing Luo beamed as she repeated with a heavy tone. City Lord Lu turned around and was about to leave. Yi Qing Luo continued to smile. City Lord Lu, wait a minute. What else do you want? City Lord Lu paused in his footsteps as he gritted his teeth and squeezed out a sentence. He was obviously infuriated. He didn't even turn his head back. Yi Qing Luo didn't care about City Lord Lu's emotions as she pointed to the side where the citizens were lying on the ground. As Without Embroiling City Lord, shouldn't you be responsible for the citizens' injuries? City Lord Lu turned around abruptly as he stared angrily at Yi Qing Luo. Since I'm sitting in this position, then I should be responsible for it. Yi Qing Luo met his vengeful gaze indifferently. All your glory now comes from your citizens. If anything happens to them, you as the City Lord will not be able to escape the blame. City Lord Lu clenched his teeth as his lips moved. In the end, he didn't say a single word. City Lord Lu. Qiao Yinyan walked out from behind Yi Qing Luo. I feel that what a Luo said is right. Since you're the City Lord of Without Embroiling City, then you should be responsible for the citizens' safety. His brows sunk as he gave off a threatening, cold intent. City Lord Lu, the citizens' injuries are related to me, so I hope City Lord can take good care of them. My Qiao family will also send someone to take care of them. But I have something to say first. He paused slightly as his brows grew fiercer. If anything happens to these citizens, my Qiao family will blame it on City Lord. I hope City Lord will take good care of them. Young Master Qiao, are you threatening me? City Lord Lu's face sunk as his eyes turned cold. He was being berated and threatened by two juniors while pointing at his nose. City Lord Lu felt as if his face had been pressed against the wall and slapped by these two juniors. Qiao Yinyan's expression remained unchanged. I don't dare to, I'm just reminding you. Good, good, very good. It's great that the Qiao family has a kind-hearted young master like you. City Lord Lu pointed at Qiao Yinyan and sneered. After that, he flicked his sleeve forcefully, turned around, and charged out of the crowd. The surrounding citizens looked at Lord Lu's back as he left. He looked at Yi Qing Luo and Qiao Yinyan fearfully. Don't worry, the City Lord will immediately arrange for people to take care of you, Qiao Yinyan comforted. What the citizens had experienced today had completely overturned the worldview that they had lived with for so many years. The Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City didn't care about their lives at all. The city lord of Without Embroiling City didn't care about them at all. On the contrary, that girl called Di Luo and young Master Chiao would bear the pressure of offending the castellan and falling out with him for the sake of their safety. Upon hearing Qiao Yinyan's words of consolation, the citizens' resentment toward City Lord Lu and Qiao Yulu deepened. Yi Qing Luo asked Pei Sheng to help Qiao Yinyan to take care of those commoners before the doctors arrived. This was also a way to build a good impression. Moreover, Pei Sheng's character was more sincere. Although the citizens' attitude towards Pei Sheng was usually full of sarcasm and ridicule, totally not showing any good expressions. Chapter 35-41. As long as their hearts were made of flesh, their attitude towards Pei Sheng would soften, until the people arranged by the city lord came over to carry the citizens to the clinic. Yi Qing Luo then walked back to the treasure house. Qiao Yinyan followed him in. I thought you wouldn't let Princess Yulu off so easily. Everyone could see that. Qiao Yulu was deliberately targeting her. Furthermore, Yi Qing Luo could make use of this opportunity to cancel the bet between her and Qiao Yulu. After all, this bet was too unfair to Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways and smiled at Qiao Yinyan. Do you think that I will deal with your sister and City Lord Lu? Qiao Yinyan was silent for a moment before he said, from the moment she became Princess Yulu, she was no longer the second miss of the Qiao family. You and family head Qiao don't seem to approve of her becoming Without Embroiling City's Empyrean fairy? Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she was a little puzzled. Isn't Mysterious Maiden's position above the city lord to gain glory for your Qiao family? Isn't that so? The expression on Qiao Yinyan's handsome face changed subtly. His thin lips pursed slightly, and there was another period of silence, as if he was hesitating. After a long time, he slowly said, The Empyrean fairy looks beautiful on the surface, but in reality, she's devoid of humanity. Yi Qing Luo was stunned. Why do you say that? Qiao Yinyan's lips moved, but in the end, he didn't say anything. He just shook his head. I'm a little hungry. Let's go to a restaurant to fill our stomachs. She knew that Qiao Yinyan was intentionally avoiding the topic. Yi Qing Luo didn't continue to ask. After all, this was a family matter of the Qiao family. She smiled. I've already prepared some simple dishes in the back hall. Let's go in and eat first. You did it yourself? Qiao Yinyan's black pupils suddenly congealed as he looked deeply at Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo nodded. It's been hard on you and Sheng today. A simple meal is to repay your help. Qiao Yinyan's eyes flickered with light. The smile at the corner of his mouth did not disappear for a long time. The two of them entered the treasure gathering, hall one after the other. Yi Qing Luo had just served the dishes on the table. Gu Zishi and Old Lai came in with 2 big baskets of herbs. Gu Zishi put down the basket and wiped the sweat off her forehead. What's going on outside? Why are there so many citizens lying on the ground? Just as the words left his mouth, she suddenly stopped wiping her sweat. Could it be that Princess Yu Lu's side purposely sent people over to defame treasure gathering and accuse it of harming those citizens? Yi Qing Luo passed both of them a cup of tea. This matter indeed has something to do with Mysterious Maiden and City Lord Lu. But it's not what you think. Gu Zishi took the teacup and drank it in one gulp. When she tasted the strange taste in the tea, a trace of astonishment flashed across her eyes. You added the powder of the elemental energy pill in the tea. Yes. Yi Qing Luo put down the teapot. This elemental energy pill is personally refined by me. Its effect is different from the ones bought in the medicine shop. You've all worked hard today. Replenish your energy well. You still have to be busy tomorrow. Gu Zishi nodded thoughtfully. Her vision paused on Chi-Chi, who was curled up on the chair with her eyes squinted, and that teapot. She then walked towards the dining table and casually pulled out a chair to sit down. Brother Sheng is outside taking care of those citizens. Did you ask him to go? Chapter 3542. Gu Zixi red lips moved, but eventually she lowered her head and didn't say a word. Yi Qing Luo asked old Lai to sit over, and the four of them started to eat. Gu Zixi was apparently distracted as she ate a few mouthfuls and looked towards the door, about the time it took to burn a stick of incense. Pei Sheng walked in while wiping his sweat. On seeing Gu Zixi, his exhausted face revealed a joyous smile. "Zixi, you're back! Are you hurt anywhere?" He hurried forward and worriedly held Gu Zixi's hand as he sized her up. Gu Zixi's tensed expression finally relaxed as her brows revealed a smile. She took out a handkerchief from her bosom and wiped the sweat on Pei Sheng's forehead. "I'm fine. Are you tired?" "Not tired." Pei Sheng's eyes were sparkling, and although his face was tired, but one could tell that he was very happy. Gu Zixi's smile deepened as she wiped his forehead bit by bit, whereas her other hand was still held tightly by Pei Sheng. This scene fell into the eyes of the few people at the dining table, causing a meaningful smile to surface on their faces. Yi Qing Luo propped her chin as her long and narrow eyes were filled with laziness. From the atmosphere between the two of them, they indeed didn't look like ordinary siblings. Moreover, looking at that handshake and the action of wiping sweat, it was extremely familiar. Apparently they had done this frequently in the past. By the time the sweat on Pei Sheng's forehead had been wiped clean, Pei Sheng turned his head and looked at Yi Qing Luo. "Ah, Luo, the citizens outside have already been carried to the medical hall. What else do I need to do next?" "Eat something first." Yi Qing Luo pointed at the dishes on the table. "After you fill your stomach, ask Zixi to boil some medicine to regulate your internal injuries. You personally bring it to the medical hall and send it over to the citizens." Gu Zixi's brows creased. "We've already taken care of them and sent them to the medical hall. That's considered as being extremely benevolent. Why do we still need to waste the medicinal herbs to boil medicine for them?" She pursed her lips as her expression was displeased. Ever since Jubao met with a mishap 5 years ago, none of these so-called neighbors extended a helping hand, and no one said a single word for Jubao. Especially these few years, they had been ridiculing Jubao and ridiculing us. Why do we have to think for them at this time? "Zixi." Pei Sheng glanced at Gu Zixi, and a trace of guilt flashed across her eyes. "I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing to me? They are the ones in the wrong, not you." Gu Zixi raised her hand and knocked Pei Sheng's head. Yi Qing Luo didn't open her mouth as she quietly listened to Gu Zixi's complaints. When Gu Zixi's line of sight fell on her, she then said lightly, "Then, Ah Sheng, do you want to send them medicine?" Gu Zixi's expression changed. "Brother Sheng is too kind. Aren't you asking him to deliver the medicine? Do you know why I asked Ah Sheng to send the medicine himself?" Yi Qing Luo looked at Gu Zixi's protective expression as she couldn't help but asked with a smile. Gu Zixi gripped Pei Sheng's wrist tightly. "No matter what the reason is, I don't want Brother Sheng to do something so strenuous and unrewarding. Those people don't know how to be grateful. If I don't do it, how would I know that it's a thankless task? How do you know that they really don't know how to be grateful?" Yi Qing Luo propped up her chin as she smiled at her. Gu Zixi pursed her lips tightly and didn't say a word. The atmosphere turned heavy momentarily. Pei Sheng looked at Yi Qing Luo, who was all smiles, and took a look at Gu Zixi, whose face was filled with unhappiness. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something to break the deadlock. Chapter 3543. Actually, I also agree with Luo's opinion. Qiao Yinyan saw that both parties were in a deadlock and coughed lightly, trying to smooth things over. The few of them looked towards Qiao Yinyan. Qiao Yinyan explained, "The reason why treasure gathering became like this in the past 5 years is all because of its reputation. The reputation of treasure gathering is deeply rooted, and to change everyone's impression, We can only do it step by step. As the current boss of Treasure Gathering, everything that Brother Pei has done is on behalf of the Treasure Gathering." He paused and continued, "Do you know why the citizens were injured at the entrance of Treasure Gathering?" Gu Zishi pursed her lips and shook her head. Qiao Yinyan explained what had happened in a concise manner. "Princess Yu Lu wants to kill Brother Sheng." Gu Zishi's expression suddenly turned gloomy as a sinister, murderous intent surfaced between her brows. But that murderous intent disappeared in a flash, so fast that it was impossible to capture it. Yi Qingluo's eyelashes fluttered slightly as her vision fell on Gu Zishi's face and shifted away. Qiao Yinyan continued, "What Princess Yu Lu and City Lord Lu did today was to dig their own graves, wiping away the citizens' reverence and respect towards them bit by bit. Moreover, City Lord Lu and Princess Yu Lu had suffered a loss in Al Luo's hands, so they must be filled with anger right now. They didn't care about the lives of the citizens. Naturally, they wouldn't think of putting on a superficial act to care about those citizens. But at this time, Brother Pei took care of them regardless of the past enmity, and even sent the medicine to regulate their internal injuries. The citizens had a comparison in their hearts, and their gratitude towards Brother Pei grew even more. Coupled with their misunderstanding towards the treasure-gathering sect and their ridicule towards all of you, it will cause them to feel a trace of guilt towards Brother Pei and the treasure-gathering sect." Gu Zishi's expression gradually eased up. She looked at Yi Qingluo and looked at Qiao Yinyan. "What you said is true?" Qiao Yinyan smiled and took a look at Yi Qingluo. Gu Zishi knew what he meant as her face turned slightly hot as she looked at Yi Qingluo in embarrassment. "Ah, Luo, what young master Qiao said. Is it true?" He still left something out. Yi Qingluo smiled mysteriously. "What?" Qiao Yinyan raised his head abruptly, his silver hair falling from his face. Yi Qingluo smiled. "While you're at it, give Zishi some medicine." Everyone was startled. Gu Zishi thought of the prescription that Yi Qingluo gave her, and her pupils suddenly enlarged. "You want to let Treasure Gathering to make a name for itself in terms of medicinal pills?" "This is just the beginning." Yi Qingluo nodded and then shook her head. "We must change the reputation of gathering treasures before we have the capital to start from other areas." Gu Zishi blushed, her eyes full of guilt and embarrassment. "Ah, Luo, I'm sorry. It's all right, I know that you care too much about Ashang." Yi Qingluo smiled as she shook her head. Anyone could see Gu Zishi's feelings for Pei Sheng. Naturally, he couldn't bear to see Pei Sheng suffer any grievances. That was why he was so against Yi Qingluo's suggestion. Of course, Yi Qingluo wouldn't get angry at Gu Zishi because of this. The disturbance caused by the Empyrean Ferry and city, Lord Lu, has actually given us an excellent opportunity to turn things around. So, let's seize the time and make a good impression on them. Chapter 3544. Looking at the energetic Yi Qingluo, Qiao Yinyan pointed to himself. "What about me?" Yi Qingluo smiled at him. "Eldest young Master Qiao will of course return to the Qiao family to rest. Treasure gathering is too small. Even Old Lai and I don't have a place to sleep. Don't tell me eldest young Master Qiao wants to stay and share a bed with us, Sheng?" "Qiao Yinyan." He chose to reject. The two of them, who were still eating, only reacted when they heard Yi Qingluo's words. Treasure gathering was too small. Other than the main hall, there were only 2 bedrooms for resting and a very narrow courtyard. There was indeed no place for Yi Qingluo and Old Lai to stay. Pei Sheng immediately put down his bowl and chopsticks and stood up, wiping his hands in embarrassment. Sorry, I didn't think so much. If it's like this, you stay in Zishi's room. I will pile up some grass in the courtyard and sleep." "I sleep in Zishi's room. What about Zishi?" Yi Qingluo's lips curled into a teasing smile. Pei Sheng apparently didn't notice. "Zishi will sleep in my room. She used to sleep here often. It's fine." Yi Qingluo let out a long, "Oh, as her narrow eyes squinted. Following that, she looked at Gu Zishi with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Gu Zishi blushed at the sight of his piercing gaze. Gu Zishi buried her head and forcefully ate a few mouthfuls of rice before she raised her head and spoke in a low voice. "It's all right, you can stay in my room. I will be gathering herbs at West Cliff Mountain these few days." "This is too dangerous, I won't allow it." Pei Sheng immediately objected. "It's already dangerous in the day. Wouldn't it be even more dangerous at night?" "Brother Sheng, don't worry." Gu Zishi put down her chopsticks and shook her head at Pei Sheng. "I promised you that I will not let myself fall into danger, so I will definitely do it." "Zishi." Pei Sheng frowned as his face was solemn. Gu Zishi gave him a smile. "If it wasn't to ensure my safety, I wouldn't tell you about this. Do you still remember that I saved a mercenary group leader previously?" Pei Sheng nodded. "You're talking about the leader of Bloody Mercenaries, a gold-ranked mercenary group, ranked second on the mercenary group rankings? The Bloody Mercenary Group has a few missions to enter the West Cliff Mountain these few days. I took the opportunity to mention it to the leader, and he agreed to bring me along and protect me." Gu Zishi patted his hand. "With the Bloody Mercenary Group protecting me, I'll be fine." Pei Sheng's expression changed slightly, but he still looked at Gu Zishi worriedly. He did not want to agree. Receiving Gu Zishi's gaze, Yi Qing Luo cleared her throat. "Cough! I'm in favor of Zishi going to the West Cliff Mountain to pick herbs." "Right, right." Even a Luo agreed. Gu Zishi hugged Pei Sheng's arm and rested her head on his shoulder. "Brother Sheng, I'm not just doing this for the treasure collection. First, we don't have extra crystal stones. It's more cost-effective to buy the herbs on the prescription list and go to the West Cliff Mountain to pick them. Secondly, under the protection of the Bloody Mercenary Group, I can go deeper into the West Cliff Mountain. I might be able to break through to the apothecary rank." Her head nuzzled against Pei Sheng's shoulder. "Just promise me, promise me." The woman's soft body leaned against his side. The woman's soft voice rang in his ear. Pei Sheng's handsome face couldn't help but blush. He knew that between him and Gu Zishi, there was a difference between a man and a woman, and they shouldn't be so intimate. Chapter 3545. In his eyes, the lady's pretty and exquisite face kept enlarging. Pei Sheng's heart seemed to have been pierced by something. His brain lost all consciousness in an instant. "All right." A word came out of his mouth. Then the woman wrapped her arms around his neck and said happily in his ear, "I know Brother Sheng treats me the best. I'll definitely protect myself and ensure my safety. Then I'll return to Brother Sheng's side safely." Pei Sheng then regained his senses in a daze. He just promised Gu Zishi? Why did he promise Gu Zishi such a dangerous thing? Seduction? These 4 words flashed across his mind. Pei Sheng's entire face suddenly turned red. He suddenly pushed Gu Zishi, who was leaning in his arms, away, and stood up. His entire face was flushed red. Both hands were opened and clenched tightly, hanging awkwardly on both sides. He didn't even dare to look at Gu Zishi. I'm done eating. I'll go in and change first." Saying that, without waiting for Gu Zishi's response, he hurriedly rushed into the backyard. "Brother Sheng." Gu Zishi chased up to him, but when she saw Pei Sheng's back disappearing in front of her eyes, she stopped in her tracks. She stretched out her hand to hold Pei Sheng's hand, but it slowly drooped down. Yi Qing Luo walked over and patted her shoulder lightly. "We've waited for so many years, so there's no need to rush this moment. Now that he's able to realize that he's blushing in front of you, this also represents that the relationship between the both of you has taken a step forward." Gu Zishi was like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bough as she suddenly raised her head and took a step back. Her cheeks flushed red. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock as she looked at Yi Qing Luo. How did you know?" "The way you look at him, it's very obvious." Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laugh. I've been through it, I know how you feel. You can't rush things, give him some time to adapt. Been through it. Gu Zishi was stunned. You look younger than me. Don't tell me you're already betrothed. When Gu Zishi asked this question, Gu Zishi's expression changed. Qiao Yinyan, who was sitting by the side, immediately looked over. His gaze was very obvious. The two women could feel it. Not just betrothed, she is. Lao Lai, who had eaten and drunk to his heart's content, clicked his tongue. Before he could finish, he was interrupted by Yi Qing Luo. I'm not married yet. Not betrothed? Lady D, if your words. Lao Lai couldn't sit still anymore. Yi Qing Luo was the Overlord's future wife, the future imperial madam. She denied that she was the Overlord's wife. Could it be, was she trying to seduce other men when the Overlord was not around? For example, young Master Qiao. Lao Lai widened his eyes and glared at Qiao Yinyan. Under the black robe, the terrifying face was extremely twisted. Coupled with that sinister look in his eyes, it was even more terrifying. Qiao Yinyan, who was being stared at for no reason, was speechless. No matter how strong Qiao Yinyan's mental fortitude was. Looking at old Lai's face, which was full of terrifying cracks, he was a little startled. But most of his attention was still on Yi Qing Luo. Luo, since you're not married, why do you say that you've been through it? Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes and smiled lightly, because I know very well the feeling of liking someone. Gu Zishi and Qiao Yinyan were stunned. Chapter 3546. When the young lady talked about liking someone, the lines on her face became extremely gentle. All the thorns on her body and that innate aura faded away. All the expressions had turned into tenderness. Her half-lidded eyes were filled with intoxicating tenderness. Everyone could see that. How deep and sincere was the young lady's love for the person she was talking about. That person is. Gu Zishi widened her eyes in surprise and looked at Yi Qing Luo curiously. He is my fiancé. Yi Qing Luo smiled gently. Fiancé. Gu Zishi blushed. She was curious and surprised at the same time. Then she took a look at Qiao Yinyan. Luo had a fiancé. What about young Master Qiao? But when Gu Zishi saw Qiao Yinyan, she didn't see any disappointment or shock on his face. Instead, he was very calm. Could it be that young Master Qiao's feelings for Luo was not what she thought? Gu Zishi suppressed the doubts in her heart and asked Yi Qing Luo curiously, "Where is your fiancé? Why isn't he by your side?" "We were temporarily separated due to some accidents. He is looking for me, and I am also looking for him." Yi Qing Luo raised her hand and rubbed Gu Zishi's head. "Look at me and then look at yourself. You can at least stay by Ah Sheng's side, even if I want to see him now. I can't." Gu Zishi hugged her head. "You are not as old as me. Are you trying to take advantage of me by rubbing my head?" "In terms of relationships, I have more experience than you. That means I am older than you." Yi Qing Luo expressed that her age in her previous life and this life had completely crushed her. Gu Zishi couldn't beat her in an argument and couldn't be bothered to continue. She rubbed her messy hair and asked again, "How long have you been separated? Do you miss him?" Separated seems to have been a long time. After all, one day apart feels like 3 years. Yi Qing Luo hid the longing in her eyes. Yes, very much. They arrived at the boundary. She was thinking about Xian all the time. How could she not? As though she could hear the melancholy in Yi Qing Luo's tone. Gu Zishi stretched out her hand and hugged her. "You both love each other so much. You will definitely be able to find each other." "Of course, we will find each other." Yi Qing Luo's eyes were filled with smiles, sparkling like stars. Lao Lai, who was sitting at the side, glared at Qiao Yinyan fiercely, as if to show his loyalty. "Did you hear that? Miss D really missed her fiancé. They love each other very much. I have seen with my own eyes how good their relationship is. That's a relationship that no one can interfere with. Old Lai's roar was very loud. Yi Qing Luo looked at Old Lai helplessly, not quite understanding where Old Lai's sudden hostility towards Qiao Yinyan came from. I can see that a Luo and her fiancé are very close. Qiao Yinyan's expression didn't change at all. His lips curled into a faint smile. If a Luo wants to find her fiancé, this auction is a very good opportunity. He smiled and said, the auction is held once a year in Without Embroiling City. All the major forces from the other 2 main cities will come to participate. At that time, the Treasures Gathering Exchange House will add your name to the auction list. As long as your fiancé comes to Without Embroiling City and sees your name, he will definitely come to find you. Chapter 3547. Looking at the both of them, trying to find a solution to their relationship problems. Yi Qing Luo's heart felt very warm. She was still very lucky. No matter where she was, she could meet friends who were considerate for her. Although she wasn't familiar with Pei Sheng, Gu Zishi, and Qiao Yinyan, both parties weren't clear about each other's background. Moreover, Yi Qing Luo had some suspicions towards them, but that didn't hinder their sincerity towards each other. All right, it's getting late. I'll return to my room first to tidy up these medicinal herbs that you've picked. Yi Qing Luo hugged Gu Zishi. What about you? Are you going to West Cliff Mountain after decocting the medicine, or tomorrow? Gu Zishi's smile froze slightly as her eyes looked towards the door of the backyard. Following that, she retracted her gaze and shook her head lightly. Let's go later. We don't have much time left. Yi Qing Luo nodded. Qiao Yinyan stood up. Then I'll go to the medical hall first. The few of them split up and did their own things. Yi Qing Luo simply tidied up the dining table and instructed Old Lai to wash the dishes. Old Lai was unwilling, but he could only obey. Yi Qing Luo returned to the backyard and saw him squatting on the ground, staring at the big pot of medicine in a daze. And on the other side, the candlelight in Pei Sheng's room was flickering, illuminating his slender figure. Yi Qing Luo only took a glance. She saw Pei Sheng standing at the door of his room. He didn't walk out of the room. The candlelight elongated his figure. Yi Qing Luo was speechless. Who couldn't tell that he was avoiding Gu Zishi? That was too obvious. But Pei Sheng had the intention to avoid Gu Zishi. This was actually a good sign. This also meant that in Pei Sheng's heart he no longer treated Gu Zishi as his own sister. If he had always treated her as his sister, no matter how Gu Zishi flirted with him, Pei Sheng would only remain indifferent. Now that Pei Sheng had a reaction, it meant that Pei Sheng's feelings towards Gu Zishi were not entirely unrelated to that of siblings. Of course, feelings. No matter what outsiders said or saw, it was useless. The crux was still on themselves. Yi Qing Luo had no intention to interfere in their relationship. She didn't make a sound as she carried the 2 baskets and entered Gu Zishi's room. At this moment, Pei Sheng, who was in the next room, was indeed as what Yi Qing Luo had expected, standing stiffly at the door. His handsome face was flushed red. His beautiful eyes were tightly shut, as if he was trying to throw something to the back of his mind. But no matter how hard he tried to brainwash himself to calm down, the woman's delicate and pretty face was still magnified in his mind. Even the girls playfully raised the corners of their lips, raised their eyebrows, and looked back. They were all played back with great clarity, especially the woman's soft and delicate body, which brought about a faint medicinal fragrance that calmed him down. His heart was beating rapidly. Pei Sheng raised his hand and pressed hard on his chest. Beauty misleads people. How could he use these words to describe his little sister? Zishi was his little sister. She was his little sister, whom he took care of as family. His little sister trusted him so much and treated him as her only family. He actually did this to her. There was a different feeling. He was not fit to be her brother. He was so shameless. He didn't even have the right to look at Zishi. This atmosphere lasted for a long time. It was until Guzishi finished brewing the medicine to treat her internal injury and left the treasure gathering, turning back every few steps. Chapter 3548. Yi Qing Luo was holding a large wooden ladle, stirring a large pot of medicinal concoction. Hearing footsteps, she glanced sideways. "You're finally willing to come out." I'm just tired and wanted to rest for a while." Pei Sheng's gaze was flustered as he tried to find an excuse. Yi Qing Luo replied, "You can lie to me, but can you lie to your own heart?" Pei Sheng, He lowered his head, and his face was shrouded in a layer of shadow, unable to see his expression. Yi Qing Luo didn't have the intention to talk about emotional chicken soup with him as she put down the wooden ladle and pointed to the side, a large wooden basin filled with a palm-sized stone bowl. Qiao Yin had just sent someone to send it over. Go to the medical hall to send the medicine over. Pei Sheng let out a muffled and walked stiffly to the basin. He bent down and carried the basin on his shoulder, then continued walking stiffly. After a few steps, just as he was about to walk out of the rear courtyard, his footsteps halted. "Little sister," she has already left? Since you're worried, why didn't you come out? Yi Qing Luo looked at him. She had been waiting for you to tell her to be careful on the way back. Pei Sheng lowered his head again, not saying a word. For a taciturn gourd like Pei Sheng, even if you said a few hundred sentences, he might not be able to reply you with one sentence. Yi Qing Luo couldn't be bothered to talk to him. Let him slowly experience and feel it. Only then would he know clearly what he wanted. Pei Sheng carried the wooden basin, while the servants sent by Qiao Yinyan carried a large pot of medicinal concoction as they set off towards the medical hall. Qiao Yinyan specially didn't prepare an ox cart to transport it. Instead, he made a few people carry it around, although it was already very late at night, but due to the many dangerous things that happened today. Plus, there were quite a number of citizens who were injured and lying in the medical hall. There were still quite a number of citizens who hadn't rested. The news of Pei Sheng and Qiao family's servants carrying a large pot of medicinal concoction to the medical hall to take care of the citizens instantly spread. It was bustling outside once again. Yi Qing Luo, who was in the treasury, didn't put it to heart. She sat in Guzishi's room and started to categorize the medicinal herbs, which Guzishi had plucked. After a simple treatment, she took out all the medicinal herbs that she used. Old Lai sat aside. The candlelight elongated his black-robed figure, making him look even more like an evil spirit that had crawled out of hell at night to claim someone's life. He knocked on the table. "It's not like I don't have crystals on me. I can just go to an inn and get 2 superior rooms. Why do I have to squeeze in a place like this?" Lao Lai felt wronged. He was a member of the Underworld Palace. Walking on the street, everyone who saw him would run away. Now, following beside Yi Qing Luo, he didn't even have a place to sleep. He said that Pei Sheng's body was weak, but he still let Pei Sheng sleep in a room. As for him, he just needed to find a place, hang a string, and sleep. Hang a string? He was an old man. Was it appropriate for him to sleep with a thread? Yi Qing Luo didn't even raise her eyelids. Qiao Yulu and the Lu family side are afraid of the Underworld Palace's power. With you here, they wouldn't dare to do anything to the treasure gathering secretly. If we go to the inn, the same thing that happened 5 years ago might happen to treasure gathering. History will repeat itself. But this time, Zhu Bao wouldn't have another 5 years to do so. Chapter 3549. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Since Qiao Yulu insisted on finding trouble with me, then don't blame me for retaliating. Yi Qing Luo's tone was indifferent. Why is it so troublesome? I'll just kill her for you. Isn't that enough? Lao Lai said indifferently. Yi Qing Luo. Killing someone at the slightest disagreement was truly the style of the Underworld Palace. She rolled her eyes at Old Lai. Even if the Underworld Palace is famous, it would still be very strenuous for them to go up against the palace of Linglong. Linglong Palace? Old Lai curled his lips in disdain. That's just a place that specializes in finding a body with matching strength. It's nothing compared to the Hell Palace. Find a compatible body. Yi Qing Luo repeated these few words in puzzlement. Why don't I understand? It's normal for someone from the lower realm like you to not know about such things. Old Lai looked at Yi Qing Luo in disdain. It said that the Earth domain is split into 3 main cities, and each main city has a main city's mysterious maiden. To put it bluntly, those so-called 3 great mysterious fairies of the Earth realm are just puppets. Yet those people are still very pleased with themselves and think that they have become the main envoys of the Earth realm's main cities. Puppet? Yi Qing Luo put down the herbs in her hands. She had always felt that the so-called Linglong Palace and the Empyrean Fairy were a little strange, especially after seeing Xiao Yilu. She felt that the Empyrean Fairy was very strange. According to Old Man's song, the Linglong Palace was equivalent to the Nirvana realm's 4 great sects. The Empyrean Fairy was equivalent to the sect masters of the 4 major sections, and the City Lord was equivalent to the royal family of the 4 continents of the Nirvana realm. However, in the Nirvana realm, the 4 great sects restricted each other and contributed to the continent they belonged to. But in the land, she had never heard of the Linglong Palace doing anything for the land. He had never heard of the use of the Empyrean Fairy. All she saw was Xiao Yilu acting domineeringly with her identity as the Empyrean Fairy. In particular, Xiao Yilu didn't even care about the lives of the citizens. This made Yi Qing Luo more suspicious. The reason why the palace of Ling Long chose the mysterious fairies, and the way the palace of Ling Long nurtured them. You won't understand even if I tell you. Anyway, Linglong Palace is not a good place. Just don't get involved with that kind of place. Lai waved his hand and looked like he was too lazy to say more. Do you think the Linglong Palace's Empyrean Maiden will let me off the hook? Yi Qing Luo tilted her head as she looked at the Linglong Palace with a smile which didn't look like a smile. You're still thinking of killing Xiao Yilu. Even if I don't want to get involved with the Linglong Palace, they will probably take the initiative to look for me. Old Lai's face twitched. When the Linglong Palace arrives, I'll tear those monsters apart. Yi Qing Luo sized up Old Lai from top to bottom. In the eyes of outsiders, your Hell Palace is also a group of monsters. How dare you say that about others? Old Lai rubbed the mottled scars on his face. The Underworld Palace is just a place that doesn't bother with trifles and isn't affected by the outside world. It's a free and arrogant life. How can you call us monsters? The Linglong Palace is the real monsters. Yi Qing Luo took a look at Old Lai's face and indicated that she couldn't bear to look at him as she shifted her gaze away. I'm very curious. Back then, I brought the Overlord to create chaos in your Hell Palace, and even killed your Hell Palace's people. But when you saw me, not only did you not treat me as an enemy, you even protected me in various ways and listened to my commands. She touched her chin. Has the Hell Palace changed their character, or are they captivated by my peerless beauty? Chapter 3550. Then what's the reason? Yi Qing Luo was curious, or could it be? Because you know about my relationship with Xian, so in order to get into his good books, you made use of me and Xian to build a relationship. That's why you treat me so well? Old Lai rolled his eyes. Does Hell Palace look like a place that would build a relationship with other powerhouses? I admit that the Overlord is indeed very strong and his status is respectable. But Hell Palace had always been an independent powerhouse, so we absolutely would not cater to anyone just to please someone. Look, this tone was filled with pride, and that complacent little gaze. It was as though he couldn't wait to tell the entire world that his Hell Palace was different from those flirtatious sluts outside, just that elegant and refined. All right, although she didn't know much about Hell Palace, but Yi Qing Luo also admitted that Hell Palace indeed didn't look like they would lower their status just to please DMO Xian, to follow by her side. Thinking of this, Yi Qing Luo became even more curious. Then why on earth did you help me? You really don't remember? Old Lai's white brows creased. Yi Qing Luo propped her chin. What should I remember? Secluded palaces. People wanted to make use of Hell Palace to help them manufacture ghost flame candles. If it wasn't for you and the Overlord's help, I'm afraid the entire Hell Palace would have been reduced to ghost flame candles. Old Lai explained patiently. Back then Hell Palace said that Hell Palace owed you a favor. So as long as you come to the Earth Realm, no matter what you need, Hell Palace will do their best to help you. Yi Qing Luo suddenly saw the light as her mouth opened wide. Seems like there's such a thing. In your eyes, how unbearable is Hell Palace, that you can even forget the favor I promised you. Mentioning this point, Old Lai almost broke down. How many people wanted to take advantage of Hell Palace, and the price might be to exchange their lives for it. He took the initiative to open his mouth, owing Yi Qing Luo a favor. In a blink of an eye, she had totally forgotten about Hell Palace. Baby Lai's heart was stuffed. Yi Qing Luo coughed lightly. You can't blame me for forgetting. Who asked Hell Palace's reputation to be so bad? Back then you said you owed me a favor, but I totally didn't expect Hell Palace to return this favor. After all, even if Hell Palace goes back on their words, that's normal. How is it normal? Old Lai slammed the table. Although the Hell Palace is a bit overbearing and barbaric, killing people at the slightest disagreement or capturing people for experiments, doing all kinds of bad things, but the Hell Palace has always kept its promises. Yes, I know now, I know. Yi Qing Luo raised her hands in surrender. Stop hitting. The things here can't withstand your strength. However, when this palm strike landed apart from the loud banging of the table was still stable and did not seem to shake at all. Lao Lai's slap on the table just now was not small. An ordinary table would more or less be affected by this palm. Yi Qing Luo seemed to have thought of something as she raised her hand and slowly touched the tea set on the table. Curling his fingers, he knocked on the table. As expected, this table looked rather old on the surface, but it was a table made of top-grade wood. Only aristocratic families or wealthy merchants could afford to use this kind of wood. Chapter 35:51. No. Old Lai didn't understand Yi Qing Luo's sudden silence and change of topic. He answered Yi Qing Luo's question directly and couldn't help but complain. You asked me to follow that lass to the West Cliff Mountain, saying it was to protect her safety. Then you asked me to find an excuse to leave midway. But in fact, I was secretly observing her. What was that for? Are you suspecting that there's something wrong with that lass? Not really suspecting. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. Just curious about her identity. Identity. Old Lai frowned. How do you know she has another identity? What other identity does she have? Yi Qing Luo's body leaned slightly against the back of the chair as she immediately raised one hand. The fingers of his other hand pinched a corner of his sleeve. Shang brought them back to the treasure-gathering hall when they were young, and they relied on concocting pills to make ends meet. Even the treasure-gathering hall has slowly turned into a small-scale trading hall like this. This shows that their days are tough and they are poor. This broken-down place is indeed very poor. Old Lai looked around with a look of disgust. But under such a hard situation, the clothes she wears are very good material. Yi Qing Luo rubbed her sleeves. This kind of material, at least rich businessmen can afford to wear it. Not only her clothes, the material is excellent. There's also Shang. Don't think that Shang is dressed in gray, looking very down and out, but his clothes are extremely soft. Absolutely will not hurt his skin. Yi Qing Luo paused for a moment and immediately placed her hand on the table. And the decorations here, although it looks simple and unremarkable, but in actual fact, no matter if it's the table or the chairs, they are all made from top-quality wood. Old Lai couldn't understand these things at all. How can you be so sure that this is related to that lass? Perhaps it's Pei Sheng that Brat's doing. Shang is not that smart. Yi Qing Luo denied directly without thinking. If it's him, the treasure-gathering exchange wouldn't become like this. To Pei Sheng, the treasure-gathering exchange hall was everything to him. If he was really not as simple as he looked on the surface, he would have long reorganized the treasure-gathering exchange hall, and not to the extent that the signboard was taken down. Pei Sheng, who was inexplicably accused of not being smart. Achoo! Was someone talking about him? Then, tell me, why do you think it's that girl? Lao Lai was curious. He somehow felt that everything seemed to be under Yi Qing Luo's control. It seemed like Yi Qing Luo knew everything. No wonder the Overlord had taken a liking to her. Only the Overlord would be able to tame such a woman. Yi Qing Luo tilted her head and pointed at Chi-Chi, who was curled up into a ball on the bed. The way she looked at Chi-Chi was very strange. If I didn't guess wrongly, she should have recognized Chi-Chi's identity. You can recognize it. Lao Lai looked at Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi's palm-sized body was snow-white, just like a newborn kitten. It was adorable and cute, and it was a world of difference from the white tiger sacred beast, one of the 4 legendary sacred beasts. So, I suspect her identity. Yi Qing Luo nodded. Although I don't feel any malicious intent from her, but after all, I don't know her background, and I don't know the purpose of her concealing her identity, so I feel a little uneasy. Chapter 3552. Half an hour? Yi Qing Luo looked at him seriously. Under your eyes, how could she disappear for half an hour? Old Lai's face turned red. That half an hour when she disappeared, the medicine basket was still there. A young lady needs some private time. How can an old man like me follow her? Because the medicine basket was there. Old Lai thought that Gu Zishi was looking for a secluded place to solve her squatting problem. Private time doesn't need half an hour. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes. She's such a young lady. To be able to live in peace in a place like West Cliff Mountain, she must have some secret there. She touched her chin. Can you help me investigate the relationship between the blood mercenary group and her? Old Lai. He was from the Hell Palace. Now he had fallen to the stage of running errands for a young lass. Another stalker. Another investigator. What did she treat the Hell Palace as? Old Lai expressed his disobedience. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. You still say you owe me a favor, and that if I need anything, you will do your best to help me. I haven't even asked you to do anything, and you're already showing an unwilling face. She paused for a moment, clicked her tongue, and shook her head in disappointment. Indeed, you can't believe the Hell Palace's words. Old Lai's face turned steely green as he squeezed out 2 words. I go. He really shouldn't have told this little demoness the reason why he would help her. At least, this little demoness wouldn't order him around without any ill feelings. Old Lai expressed that if he knew that he would meet this demoness today, he would never come to Without Embroiling City. Looking at Old Lai's twisted face, that hideous scar on his face was squirming horribly. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes as her pink lips curled into a big smile, nodding in satisfaction. Good boy. Old Lai's features became even more twisted. Young lady, aren't you afraid that I will go crazy and kill you? Oh, Yi Qing Luo lowered her head and continued to work on the herbs. Then are you afraid that Xian will go crazy and destroy the Hell Palace? Bullying young lady. Old Lai gritted his teeth. Yi Qing Luo replied, and bullying others is also a kind of ability. At least I have a backer who is willing to rely on me. Old Lai flicked his sleeves and left. Looking at Old Lai's disappearing figure, Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laugh. Old Lai's character was somewhat similar to Teacher Guiyu. It was easier to deal with such a straightforward person. She smiled and hung her head. Time was running out. He had to hurry up and refine the item that he was going to use to turn the situation around tomorrow. In the medicine basket, there was still a large pile of messy herbs waiting for her to sort them out. Yi Qing Luo took a deep breath and threw herself into the medicinal herbs. About an hour later, Yi Qing Luo had finally tidied up the medicinal herbs in the 2 medicine baskets, and those medicinal herbs which were to be used were distributed to the side according to the proportion. What made Yi Qing Luo astonished was that the quality of these medicinal herbs were not bad at all. Yi Qing Luo indicated that West Cliff Mountain had successfully attracted her attention. Once everything was over, she would definitely go to the West Cliff Mountain and sweep it clean. The herbs stored in the profound phoenix ring needed to be refurbished. Yi Qing Luo packed all the medicinal herbs, which she was going to use later, into a medicinal basket and carried it directly to the bed. The lady's soft bed was instantly occupied by a large pile of medicinal herbs. Yi Qing Luo sat at the head of the bed, and with a jolt of her consciousness, these medicinal herbs were all brought into the azure dew bracelet. Old Man Tsang was suspended in midair, swinging his legs. Chapter 35:53. Not medicinal pills. Yi Qing Luo hugged the medicine basket and walked to the cauldron dragon's side. Then what do you want to refine? Old Man Tsang floated down. His nose twitched as he sniffed the herbs in the basket. Then he frowned. These herbs are to improve the skin and regulate the toxins in the body. What do you want to do? Yi Qing Luo was busy with the preparation work in her hands as she replied, "Women's money is easy to earn. Women go crazy for their looks, even more crazy than those cultivators who want to improve their strength." Old Man Tsang. For a moment he felt speechless. In the 100-pill refining manual, there were all kinds of pill refining recipes. There were also a lot of beauty-nourishing, physique-improving, endocrine-improving, and body fragrance formulas. Refining beauty and nourishing ointment was much more reliable than refining elixirs that strengthened the body and raised profound energy. Most importantly, the herbs were relatively simple, and refining a pellet to raise profound strength in a situation where there was no guarantee. Others might not believe in her pills. After the preparations were complete, Yi Qing Luo then threw herself into refining the beauty-nourishing ointment. The next morning, Yi Qing Luo slowly poured the ointment into a sparkling white jade bottle from the cauldron dragon. The jade bottle was about the size of 2 fingers, transparent and radiating light. The pink ointment in the jade bottle seemed to be plated with a layer of color. Very tempting. Yi Qing Luo filled the ointment into 4 bottles. After finishing these, Old Man Tsang's voice sounded, "Lass, someone is approaching your room." Yi Qing Luo put the jade bottle away and used her divine sense. She opened her eyes and coincidentally heard a knock on the door. "Ah, Luo, are you awake?" Yi Qing Luo got down from the bed piled with herbs and used her fingers to comb her loose black hair. "I'm up." She opened the door and saw a dirty Gu Zishi standing at the doorway. When she saw Yi Qing Luo, her eyes brightened. "Ah, Luo, did you succeed?" The woman was panting. Yi Qing Luo also saw the sweat on her forehead. Obviously, Gu Zishi had rushed back early in the morning. It was probably to confirm whether she had successfully refined the beautifying ointment. After all, this was the only chance to save Jubao. Yi Qing Luo took out a bottle. "I've succeeded. I've refined 4 bottles. I'll take this bottle first to test the effect." "For bottles?" Gu Zishi's eyes widened. "With those herbs, I can only make 2 portions of ointment at most." Yi Qing Luo smiled. "The proportion of medicinal herbs is absolutely not the slightest bit off. You can rest assured." Gu Zishi took the bottle, her hands trembling. "Who should we find to test the effects? Judging from Ah Shang's good impression of the citizens yesterday, it shouldn't be that difficult to find someone to test the effect." Yi Qing Luo pondered for a moment. "Let's do some publicity first, then find a lady with spots or pimples on her face to test it in public." At this point, she touched her chin again and smiled evilly. "It's best to blow it up. If Xiao Yilu is so angry that she rushes over to add more scenes, our free publicity will be secured. Gu Zishi, why did she feel that Luo was getting more and more cunning? If Xiao Yilu knew that her role was just a publicity tool, she wondered if she would be so angry that she would vomit blood. Gu Zishi wiped her dirty face. I'll do it now. Chapter 3554. Gu Zishi realized that her appearance was in a mess as her gaze swiftly shot towards the tightly shut door next door. She was sure that Pei Xing hadn't seen her dirty and messy appearance. Then she speedily rushed into the room and closed the door. Yi Qing Luo only realized that she was in a sorry state now. Yi Qing Luo shook her head as she walked back to her room and started to wash up. By the time the both of them appeared in the main hall, Pei Xing had already prepared breakfast and was preparing it. Old Lai was already seated at the dining table and started to eat. Yi Qing Luo's vision fell onto the other side of the dining table, on the man who was drinking his tea elegantly. Why are you here so early in the morning? Xiao Yinyan calmly put down his teacup. I want to see what you are going to use to let treasure gathering obtain the honor of the best trading house. Yi Qing Luo didn't reply as she pulled Gu Zishi, whose head was hung low, not knowing what she was thinking about, to sit by the dining table. Pei Sheng hurriedly filled a bowl of porridge and placed it in front of Yi Qing Luo. Immediately after, he filled another bowl and placed it in front of Gu Zishi. Gu Zishi coincidentally raised her hand to take the wooden chopsticks on the table. He raised his hand and touched Pei Sheng's hand. Pei Sheng's hand shook as he speedily put down the porridge and retracted his hand. That handsome face, with his drooping eyes, drifted erratically. Gu Zishi's pupils contracted as she stood up abruptly and speedily held Pei Sheng's hand. Her fair little hand held the man's big palm tightly. Although Pei Sheng looked extremely slender, but his palm was half the size of Gu Zishi's. Gu Zishi used both her hands to hold Pei Sheng's hand tightly. Your hand, why is it so cold? Gu Zishi asked worriedly. Did you keep watch at the medical hall for the entire night? The lady's soft hand was as smooth as silk. It even carried a lady's unique fragrance. Pei Sheng only felt that the pair of hands which was holding him was like a ball of raging fire, burning incessantly. His heart was being burnt by this raging fire as his heart started to beat wildly. What on earth was going on? In the past, no matter how intimate the both of them were, he wouldn't feel any inappropriateness or discomfort. Why? Now, as long as his little sister got close to him, he couldn't control his own body, his own thoughts? Was it because there were other people around? Or, without hesitation, Pei Sheng quickly withdrew her hand from Gu Zishi's grasp. He lowered his head and said in a low voice, I'm fine. Don't worry. Hurry up and have your breakfast. Gu Zishi was stunned. She looked down at her hands that had been freed, and her eyelashes trembled slightly. He raised his head and stared at Pei Sheng. However, Pei Sheng averted her gaze, not daring to look at her. She even went straight to the backyard. I'm going to prepare the decoction and send it to the clinic later. After saying that, he rushed into the backyard. Gu Zishi stared at Pei Sheng's departing figure with an indescribably subtle expression on her face. She stood in front of the dining table in a daze. Yi Qing Luo was by her side. He could clearly feel Gu Zishi's trembling body. Yi Qing Luo sighed as she stretched out her hand to pull Gu Zishi's sleeve and pressed her down on the chair. Don't push me too hard. Fill your stomach first. We still have work to do later. Gu Zishi didn't say a word as she lowered her head and mechanically picked up the chopsticks, eating the porridge in silence. Looking at the distracted Gu Zishi, Yi Qing Luo heaved a long sigh as she patted her shoulder. Chapter 3555. Xiao Yinyan shook his head. I'm not sure about that. Why are you looking for a woman with a scar on her face? Publicity, Yi Qing Luo replied. Xiao Yinyan paused for a moment, a trace of surprise appearing on his face. The item you want to bid on at the auction is something that can remove marks from a woman's face. Yi Qing Luo snapped her fingers. Smart. Qiao Yinyan frowned. Since you know how to refine pills, why don't you directly refine pills that can raise profound strength? Something that can remove the marks on a woman's face. No matter how effective it is, there won't be that many people who would want to bid for it. Yi Qing Luo raised a finger and shook it. Young Master Qiao, don't underestimate women's craziness for their looks. As long as it's effective, the rich ladies and madams in Without Embroiling City will definitely beg for it. Qiao Yinyan had a look of disbelief on his face as he said, No matter where we are, we respect the strong. As long as we are strong enough, it doesn't matter what we look like. This is what you men think. Yi Qing Luo smiled slyly. Want to make a bet? Qiao Yinyan raised an eyebrow. You set Princess Yulu up, and now you want to set me up as well. Yi Qing Luo giggled. Didn't you not believe it? How am I tricking you? I'm clearly giving you a chance to prove yourself. Qiao Yinyan looked at the smiling girl in front of him for a long time before he slowly smiled and said, Fine, I'll bet with you. Then it settled. Yi Qing Luo clapped her hands to seal the deal. How do you want to bet? What kind of prize? Qiao Yinyan. The bet is whoever loses will become the other party's slave for a month. How about that? Yi Qing Luo nodded. No problem. As the two of them sang together, the atmosphere at the dining table warmed up a little. Gu Zishi reluctantly drank half a bowl of porridge, then used the excuse of going to the West Cliff Mountain to collect herbs, and left with the basket on her back. He had even forgotten about the promotion of the beautifying ointment. Soon after, Pei Sheng and the servants of the Qiao clan carried a large pot of medicine to the medical hall. The way they left one after another made Yi Qing Luo speechless. These two people, wasn't everything fine before she moved into treasure gathering? Why were the two of them avoiding each other, even if they couldn't pierce through the feelings of both parties? But in any case, they were still siblings, okay? Love is torturous. By the time Yi Qing Luo and Old Lai had finished their breakfast, Qiao Yinyan said, Do you need me to ask the Qiao family to help you find a woman with marks on her face? Yi Qing Luo was just about to agree, but when the words reached the tip of her tongue, she shook her head. Forget it, it's better not to. Your second sister is still fixated on the treasure gathering, and if you make a move, she will find an excuse to create trouble again. She was injured quite badly yesterday, and father also said a few words to her. She probably won't bother you again before the auction, Qiao Yinyan explained. When Yi Qing Luo heard that, the expression on her face congealed slightly as her lips curled into a crafty cold arc. She narrowed her eyes, and there was a glint in her eyes. It embellished a cunning and bottomless starry sky. What kind of wicked idea did you come up with? Qiao Yinyan felt a chill run down his spine from the smile and the look in her eyes. Yi Qing Luo propped her chin with one hand and smiled very innocently. I just suddenly thought of a strong publicity method that can absolutely make the beautifying ointment famous. Qiao Yinyan said, I feel that this method of yours will cause someone to suffer. Chapter 3556. Yi Qing Luo carried the 3 bottles of beauty ointment as she walked out of the treasure gathering hall. In Case City, Lord Lu and Qiao Yulu did anything secretly. Yi Qing Luo directly let Old Lai stay in the treasure gathering hall to take charge. After that, she and Qiao Yinyan headed towards the direction of the medical hall. The minute they reached the medical hall, Yi Qing Luo saw the entrance of the medical hall surrounded by hundreds of citizens. When they saw Yi Qing Luo and Qiao Yinyan, they automatically opened up a path for them to enter. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she exchanged glances with Qiao Yinyan. She was now a member of the treasure gathering hall and had offended Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden, injuring her. When the citizens saw her, they were filled with respect. There was no longer the disgust they had when they looked at her previously. Such a change, which explained it perfectly. Yesterday Xiao Yulu's action of courting death had successfully courted her own death, and she made use of this matter to increase Pei Sheng's favorable impression, which was the right thing to do. At least for now, the scale in the citizens' hearts had already leaned towards their side. Yi Qingluo and Xiao Yinyan walked into the medical hall and saw Pei Sheng carrying the medicinal concoction, running back and forth. From time to time, he would accompany the elderly citizens and whisper something to them. Indeed, Pei Sheng was the best choice to increase the favorable impression. Sincerity was the best way to exchange for the other party's sincerity. Hearing footsteps, Pei Sheng turned around and saw the two of them walking over as he immediately stood up. "Why are you guys here?" "To see you and the citizens." Yi Qingluo swept a glance at the surroundings. These citizens were arranged in the hall at the backyard of the medical hall, with each person lying on a straw mat. If it wasn't for City Lord Lu's words, and Xiao family bearing the expenses for these people, the medical hall would absolutely not take in so many citizens. Yi Qingluo estimated that there were about 80 over people left in the medical hall, and all of their faces weren't as pale as yesterday, looking rather spirited. Xiao Yulu and Xiao Yinyan had injured these citizens' internal organs when they had fought against Xiao Yulu. Generally speaking, if they weren't treated in time, their internal organs would dry up or they would bleed to death. Even if they were treated, they would need a lot of time to recuperate. Therefore, most profound practitioners would rather suffer external injuries like a severed arm or a broken knuckle than suffer any internal injuries. Fortunately, there was a medicinal concoction brewed by Gu Zishi specifically for internal injuries. It could quickly heal the damaged organs of the citizens. From the intense pain in their internal organs to the relief of their upper body, the citizens could clearly feel the changes. In addition, Pei Sheng had taken care of them through the night and refused to accept any payment from the citizens. The citizens' impression and attitude towards Pei Sheng had obviously changed. Moreover, when Pei Sheng faced everyone's thanks, he simply scratched his head, saying that this was all Yi Qingluo's suggestion, and it was his little sister who had concocted the medicinal herbs and personally brewed the medicinal concoction. As for him, he was just an errand boy who came to deliver medicine to everyone. This made the citizens even more fond of him. So when he saw Yi Qingluo, his attitude became much gentler. Yi Qingluo wanted this kind of effect. She smiled and lightly patted Pei Sheng's shoulder. "It's been hard on you. While taking care of everyone, don't forget to take care of your own body. If you have the chance, take a good rest. Your body isn't that good either." Chapter 35:57. Yi Qingluo's voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't considered soft, as everyone in the hall could hear her. The citizens all looked over. Pei Sheng's handsome face congealed slightly as he lowered his head. "I know, I will take note." Yi Qingluo patted his shoulder. "Look at the dark circles under your eyelids, and you still say you will take note. If you don't rest, the person lying in the medical hall will be you." Pei Sheng opened his mouth and wanted to rebuke. Before he could say anything, he met with the young lady's bright eyes. He was stunned as his voice was stuck in his throat. He saw the young lady walking past him and into the middle of the hall. Her temperament was outstanding, and even though she was masked with a veil, it was still extremely eye-catching. The citizens' gazes were uncontrollably congealed on her. When Yi Qingluo walked into the main hall, her bewitching eyes smiled as she looked at the crowd. "If any of you are not feeling well, you can ask me. I'm an alchemist, and I can take care of you. Let Ashingo take a rest first. His body isn't very well." The citizens looked at Pei Sheng's pale complexion and the dark circles under his eyes and hurriedly said, No matter, we don't need to take special care." "Boss Pei, hurry and take a rest. You can't waste your body like this. There's only 4 days left for the auction. As the boss of the Treasure Exchange Hall, you must perk up. We're fine. There's no need to specially make a trip to send us medicine." That's right, these medicines, the doctors in the medical hall all said that this is a top-grade medicine for treating internal injuries. It's a waste for us to drink it. The Treasure Exchange Hall is about to take part in the auction, and your lives are usually very tight. Don't waste the medicinal herbs for us. The citizens started to speak out one by one, and their tone was filled with gratitude and concern towards Pei Sheng. Actually, everyone was mutual. If you treat me well, I'll treat you twice as well. Treating people sincerely would always be reciprocated. These citizens might have hurt Pei Sheng, hurt the Treasure Exchange Hall before, but this was also human nature. No matter if the matter 5 years ago, the Treasure Exchange Hall embezzled and cheated the best trading house's honor, was true or false. The citizens didn't mind. They might want to believe in the Treasure Exchange Hall, but they were also afraid of what if. Humans were like this, afraid of hurting themselves and hurting their own interests. Naturally, they would avoid this what if. But now, the citizens' attitude towards Pei Sheng had changed. It was because he believed in Pei Sheng's character. He had personally verified Pei Sheng's character, listening to the citizens' words. Since 5 years ago, Pei Sheng, who had never enjoyed the attention of others, actually had red eyes in front of everyone. Yi Qing Luo shot him a look. Pei Sheng didn't return to the treasure-gathering hall to rest. He took a straw mat from the main hall and went to the inner hall to rest. Pei Sheng went to rest, and the task of serving medicine to the citizens fell into Yi Qing Luo's hands. When Yi Qing Luo delivered the medicine into the hands of the citizens, they didn't dare to receive the medicine. For them, Yi Qing Luo was like a fairy. Let the fairy bring them medicine? They really didn't dare to take it. In addition, Qiao Yinyan also helped Yi Qing Luo to serve the medicine to everyone. The citizens were even more terrified. Should they laugh at the blessings of their ancestors, or should they be moved and cry? She was a celestial maiden from the underworld palace who dared to offend even the Empyrean fairy and the city lord. A genius youth, the Qiao family's young master Qiao. These two big shots were giving medicine and water to a group of cannon fodder. Chapter 3558. Yi Qing Luo saw the fear and uneasiness in the citizens' eyes. She smiled even more gently. Her long and narrow eyes were curved, forming a demonic and charming arc. Mysterious fairy was targeting me, so she acted without any explanation and without embroiling city. In order to protect me, young Master Qiao stepped forward, which is why he hurt you innocent people. Yi Qing Luo said gently, so the reason why you are hurt is because of me. She passed a bowl of medicine into the hands of a citizen and went to fill another bowl. You don't have to feel any psychological burden. This is what we should do. No, Miss D, this matter is not your fault. Yes, we don't blame you. Don't say that. You are also innocent. This is all you lose. This person was about to complain, but was interrupted by Yi Qing Luo. This is without embroiling city. No matter what mysterious fairy does, it is right. The citizen swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. That's right, this was without embroiling city. Princess Yulu was without embroiling city's mysterious fairy. He was just an ordinary citizen. If he offended Princess Yulu, his ending would be terrible. Thank you, Miss D, for stopping in time. The citizen heaved a sigh of relief. Yi Qing Luo shook her head with a smile. City Lord Lu is funding to take care of you and nurse your health. What you need to do is to take good care of your health. Your life is more important than anything else. The citizens held the medicine bowls and looked at Yi Qing Luo gratefully. But it was also because of Yi Qing Luo's words that were so gentle. The citizens slowly accepted the medicine that Yi Qing Luo and Qiao Yinyan brought over with ease. After the medicine was all served, Yi Qing Luo checked the pulse of the citizens who were seriously ill. Then she personally wrote a new prescription for them. She took the prescription and went to get the medicine. Qiao Yinyan also followed, with Qiao Yinyan's face scanning machine around. Yi Qing Luo smoothly came to the pharmacy's storeroom. The two of them waited at the door for the apprentice to get the medicine. Qiao Yinyan leaned against the door. His black eyes stared deeply at Yi Qing Luo, seemingly thinking about something. After being stared at for a long time, Yi Qing Luo raised her eyelids. Why? Are you attracted by my beauty? You're very smart and very good at scheming. He crossed his arms over his chest and tilted his head slightly. Silver hair, hanging on his shoulders, scattered down. It made his handsome face look even more elegant and noble. In the grand hall, you deliberately worried about Brother Pei's health, and then you mentioned the treasure gathering and the grand auction. You wanted to arouse the citizens' guilt towards Brother Pei, and also indirectly wash away the bad impression the citizens have of the treasure gathering. You took care of them personally and pretended to be gentle so that the citizens would believe you. Therefore, when your skin beautifying cream appears, not only will they not question it, they'll even protect you. Qiao Yinyan paused and looked at her with a burning gaze. There was a faint smile on his face. Am I right? Can't I really worry about Ah Sheng's health? Can't I take care of them? Also, why am I not gentle? Do I need to pretend to be gentle? Yi Qing Luo stared at him. Where's the trust between people? Can you trust me a little more and be less suspicious? Qiao Yinyan looked at her for some time and decisively shook his head. Towards you, I can't. Yi Qing Luo. Don't say it as if he knew her very well. At this moment, the pharmacy's apprentice had already brought out the medicine. Yi Qing Luo took the medicine bag and walked towards the place where the medicine was brewed. Chapter 35:59. But Luo. He paused as his voice deepened. You just need to remember one thing. No matter what, I will help you. Yi Qing Luo paused as she frowned slightly. Between her and Qiao Yinyan, they had only known each other for a day, but somehow she felt that Qiao Yinyan's attitude towards her was too special. In the span of a day in Without Embroiling City, Yi Qing Luo more or less understood from the citizens' discussions. Qiao Yinyan, this person, although he treated people gently and politely, but he exuded a faint sense of alienation. His figure was outstanding, his aura was imposing, making people unable to approach him. Why? Was he treating her so differently? Fell in love at first sight? No. This was impossible. Qiao Yinyan's attitude towards her was very subtle, but it didn't seem like liking her. Or was it really like what he said? He just wanted to make friends with her? Make friends? One must know when the two of them first met. She still looked like a disheveled beggar, carried away by Qiao Yilu's maid. Just like this. She could even attract Qiao Yinyan's gaze, making him think, hey, disheveled little beggar. Your disheveled look has successfully attracted the attention of this young master? This thought flashed across Yi Qing Luo's mind. Yi Qing Luo hugged her arms and shivered. Damn it, simply too terrifying. She didn't even turn her head back as she carried the medicine bag and walked forward quickly. Just after passing through the main hall, suddenly she heard a few noises coming from outside the medical hall. Immediately she saw 3 figures rushing into the main hall. Following closely behind them were a few guards of the medical center, who were staring at the 3 figures with vigilance. These 3 people had just rushed in. This caused the citizens in the main hall to panic. There were a few citizens who were so shocked that they hurriedly crawled to the side. This action further deepened their internal injuries. Yi Qing Luo's expression changed slightly as she concentrated on the 3 of them. The 3 of them were dressed in dark green robes, embroidered with a blood-like dyed flower. The 3 of them had a serious expression. Their brows were filled with murderous intent. Obviously, their hands were stained with a lot of blood. Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes. These people came to the clinic aggressively. It did not seem like they were here to see a doctor. Among the 3 of them, the one who was standing in the middle walked up quickly when he saw Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo didn't move. Behind her, the citizens sucked in a breath of cold air and whispered to her to leave. But in the blink of an eye, that person was already standing in front of Yi Qing Luo. He raised his hand and grabbed towards Yi Qing Luo's shoulder. He attacked with great strength and speed. Yi Qingluo's eyes narrowed slightly as she flipped her wrist. Her slender fingers accurately grasped the man's wrist. Kacha! The sound of bones breaking was extremely clear in the silent hall. The man's face paled, but he didn't make a sound. The two people behind him quickly stepped forward. You dare to attack? It seems like he was the one who made the first move. Yi Qingluo's slender brows creased slightly as she glanced coldly at that pale-faced man who was holding his hand. Who are you people? What do you want to do? The man gritted his teeth and endured the pain. I mean no harm. You say no harm and it means no harm? Making a move the minute we meet. I've also said that I don't have any ill intentions when I break your hand. Yi Qingluo sneered as her lips curled. You. The two people behind were flustered and exasperated as they were about to rush forward. Stop right there. The man whose hand was broken stopped them and looked at Yi Qingluo. Is young Lady Di Luo young Lady Di? Yi Qingluo raised her brows. Yes. Will young lady please make a trip with us? That man said. Chapter 3560. Yi Qingluo couldn't help but laughed. If you want to politely invite me to follow you, shouldn't you introduce yourself first? Those few people exchanged glances, but didn't reply. The voices of the surrounding citizens were filled with fear and astonishment. These, aren't these mercenaries from the Blood Mercenary Group? That's right. They're from the Blood Mercenary Group. Their clothes have the Blood Mercenary Group's logo. Why would the Blood Mercenary Group's people come to look for Miss D? Could it be that Princess Yulu had invited the Blood Mercenary Group for help? When the citizens heard the name Blood Mercenary Group, they were all stunned. Mercenary groups like these were usually only seen in the wild or in extremely dangerous places. It was rare to see mercenaries roaming around the city, especially the second-ranked Blood Mercenary Group in the Earth Realm. It was even more impossible for ordinary citizens like them to see them. But now, the moment the Blood Mercenary Group's mercenaries appeared, 3 of them appeared. The citizens' first reaction was, Princess Yulu had invited the Blood Mercenary Group's mercenaries to deal with Miss D. There was a subtle change in the expressions of the citizens. The gazes towards the Blood Mercenary Group were filled with disgust rather than fear. The 3 of them who were stared at by the citizens had an ugly expression as they frowned and stared at Yi Qingluo. Miss D, don't waste our time. When Yi Qingluo heard the citizens' discussion, the expression on her face had already concealed the sharpness from earlier. Her slender brows were knitted tightly as her tone was worried. Did something happen to Zishi? She mentioned Gu Zishi's name. The eyes of the mercenary whose hand was broken sunk slightly. Follow us and you'll know. Noticing the change in the 3 mercenaries' expressions, Yi Qingluo's heart thumped and didn't continue to tangle with them. Lead the way. The 3 of them turned around and were about to leave. Wait, a man's panting voice was heard from behind. Pei Xing rushed up quickly, totally not fearing the mercenary's murderous aura as he pounced forward and placed both hands on one of the mercenary's shoulders. What did you say? What happened to Zishi? Pei Xing's handsome face was filled with anxiety and panic. Having just woken up, he rushed over without even putting on his shoes. Her clothes were slightly disheveled, and a few strands of her black hair had loosened from the crown on her head. He was in an extremely sorry state. The mercenary's face darkened, and just as he was about to raise his hand to push away the hands on his shoulders, but just as he moved, however, he found that his shoulders seemed to be pressed down by a huge rock, and he was unable to move even half a step. What kind of strength was that? He was a mercenary of the Bloody Mercenary Group. He was actually pressed down by a weak-looking piece of trash to the point where he couldn't move. Say something. What happened to Zishi? Pei Xing became increasingly anxious when he saw the mercenary's gloomy expression and his silence. He couldn't help but increase the strength of his hands. The mercenary's facial features twitched in pain, and his face gradually turned pale. He struggled to break free from Pei Sheng's hands. The more he struggled, the more Pei Sheng thought about it, the more flustered he felt. His mind was filled with Gu Zixi smile. His heart and his throat felt like it was being choked by someone, making it hard for him to breathe. Just as the mercenary's body couldn't take the load, his legs bent and was about to be pressed onto the ground. A fair hand moved slightly. Chapter 3561. That profound energy had no attack power at all, but it made Pei Sheng move his hands away from the mercenary's shoulders. Ah Sheng, calm down. Yi Qing Luo walked up and blocked Pei Sheng's body. Let's follow them to take a look. Pei Sheng looked extremely dejected. When his hands left the mercenary's body, his slender body staggered a few steps back. I can't calm down. Zixi. She went to such a dangerous place like West Cliff Mountain because of me. If anything happens to her, I will never forgive myself. He muttered softly. His voice was slightly choked. Don't guess blindly. The blood mercenary group didn't say anything happened to Zixi. Yi Qing Luo sighed and looked at the three mercenaries lead the way. The three mercenaries looked at each other with an ugly expression and quickly turned to leave the clinic. Pei Sheng hurriedly chased after them. Yi Qing Luo instructed the citizens and passed the medicine bag to the medical hall's apprentice as she followed up behind them. She had just reached the entrance when she saw Qiao Yinyan following her. She paused her footsteps. Don't follow me. Qiao Yinyan shook his head. Miss Gu followed the blood mercenary group to West Cliff Mountain. Now that they are here, it must be related to Miss Gu. West Cliff Mountain is too dangerous. I have to follow you. Go back to the treasure gathering and ask Old Lai to rush to West Cliff Mountain. Yi Qing Luo wasn't sure if the blood mercenary group had been bribed by Qiao Yulu and deliberately set up a trap, so it was better to let Old Lai come over. Even without the seniors from the Hell Palace, I can still protect you, Qiao Yinyan replied seriously. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips. Because of Qiao Yulu, I already have a subtle relationship with the Qiao family. You are the eldest young master of the Qiao family. If anything happens to you because of me, Master Qiao will not let me off. No, Qiao Yinyan replied without any hesitation. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. Are you so sure? Qiao Yinyan nodded. No matter what happens to me, I am willing to do it. Father will not blame you for this. Absolutely not. Yi Qing Luo. She felt a shiver when she heard these words from Qiao Yinyan's mouth. Willingly? Why does it sound like something a pitiful male antagonist would say to the female lead? Yi Qing Luo took a deep breath and rubbed her arms. You don't mind, but I mind. I don't want to be involved with the Qiao family in any way. As she walked out of the clinic, she continued, To be honest, I don't mind being friends with you, but I don't need more progress. If Qiao Yinyan suffered some kind of injury because of her, even if family head Qiao really didn't care, she, Yi Qing Luo, still owed the Qiao family a favor. He would still be involved with the Qiao family. The Qiao family was a large family that coexisted with City, Lord Lu's faction, in Without Embroiling City. Once he was tainted by this kind of aristocratic family, it would be very troublesome. Her only goal now was to find Dmo Xian. Then they would search for her biological parents. Qiao Yinyan didn't reply. Behind him, there was no sound of footsteps following. Yi Qing Luo didn't turn back as she walked straight ahead. He had only taken a few steps. Qiao Yinyan's somewhat hoarse voice came from behind her. Do you love him very much? Yi Qing Luo's footsteps stopped abruptly as she frowned. She didn't quite understand the meaning behind Qiao Yinyan's question, but she didn't have any hesitation. Chapter 3562. Qiao Yinyan didn't speak for a long time. Yi Qing Luo remained silent for a moment as she sensed that the bloody mercenary group's presence was getting further and further away. She didn't bother about Qiao Yinyan anymore as she hurried towards the direction of the presence. The wind brought Qiao Yinyan's deep voice. What a pity. Very, very slight. Almost inaudible. Pity? What's a pity? Yi Qing Luo was stunned, but very quickly she threw this matter to the back of her mind. She hurriedly chased after him. West Cliff Mountain. Although this West Cliff Mountain was called a mountain. But at the entrance, at first glance, it was an extremely dangerous and terrifying dense forest. Behind the lush trees were towering mountains that pierced through the clouds. But on this mountain range, there was an extremely strange black yin qi floating, constantly twining. When Yi Qing Luo walked to the West Cliff Mountain, in an instant, she felt that even the sky seemed to have darkened. It made one's heart inexplicably surged with a sense of oppression. This dense forest was similar to the forest that she had seen previously. After stepping into the periphery, it was basically a row of ancient trees covering the sky and the sun. The lush branches and leaves covered everything. The only difference was, it was probably that this forest was more like a wild forest. There was a dangerous atmosphere in all directions, making one's heart turn cold. After Pei Sheng stepped into the West Cliff Mountain, the expression on his face became more and more grave. His hands that were hanging by his side clenched and clenched from time to time, until they walked into the forest for a while. Yi Qing Luo could vaguely see those layers of mountains not far away. Perhaps it was because the bloody mercenary group had already cleared the route along the way, so they didn't meet with any danger. Just that the deeper they walked, Yi Qing Luo felt. The stronger the sense of crisis, Yi Qing Luo's expression congealed slightly. The danger of the West Cliff Mountain. Your mercenary group should be clear about it. Under the circumstances of bringing Zishi along, you still managed to explore so deep? The three mercenaries who were walking in front had an ugly expression on their faces. We are here to complete a mission, not to play. Since the mission is dangerous, we shouldn't have agreed to bring Zishi along. Yi Qing Luo's originally calm heart couldn't be controlled as it started to palpitate uneasily. The mercenary who had his right arm broken heard this. The pain in his arm and the girl's overbearing attitude made the suppressed anger in his heart surge. Who do you think you are? How dare you point your fingers in front of me? It was not because of Bloody that Miss Gu was trapped in Xia Mountain. It's because of you, this useless brother. He pointed angrily at Pei Sheng. Pei Sheng's face paled. Trapped in the West Cliff Mountain. For me? What do you mean by that? What happened to Zishi? The mercenary snorted coldly. To pick some essence, gathering grass. They say that it can be paired with other herbs to strengthen your body. Pei Sheng's expression seemed as if it had frozen on his face, and it was completely pale. Now isn't the time to blame yourself. Yi Qing Luo patted Pei Sheng's shoulder. Let's rush over to take a look first. Pei Sheng gritted his teeth and nodded with reddened eyes. The three mercenaries looked at Pei Sheng with hatred and disgust, but they didn't continue to speak as they quickly moved forward. Yi Qing Luo had been paying attention to the mercenaries' reactions, and it was even more certain that Gu Zishi and the bloody mercenary group had some kind of close relationship. Otherwise, the second ranked mercenary group in the Earth Realm. Chapter 3563. Even if Gu Zishi had once saved the bloody mercenary group's leader, that wouldn't make the bloody mercenary group hate Pei Sheng just because Gu Zishi was in danger. Yi Qing Luo concealed the deep meaning in her eyes as she followed behind them. Walking deeper, they walked for about half an incense's time. Yi Qing Luo felt that not far ahead, there were quite a number of experts aura gathered. There were also figures floating and low voices of conversation. Someone heard the commotion over here and hurriedly went forward. Have you brought the person? That person was also dressed in the bloody mercenary group's uniform. His face was filled with worry. When he rushed over, his vision immediately fixed on Yi Qing Luo. His face was filled with joy as he pounced towards Yi Qing Luo. You are the Di Luo that Zishi mentioned, right? You can definitely save her, right? Yi Qing Luo moved sideways, avoiding that person as she sized up the person in front of her. The man was about 20 years old, handsome, and his brows were filled with anxiety. Assistant Group Leader. A few mercenaries came up from the front. Group Leader is rushing us. That man who was addressed as Assistant Group Leader clenched his fists. Miss D, you must save Zishi. Yi Qing Luo looked at the few mercenaries in front of her. Their faces were filled with anxiety and worry, especially the Assistant Group Leader. He was extremely worried about Gu Zishi. Obviously, this Assistant Group Leader's feelings towards Gu Zishi were not ordinary. Yi Qing Luo subconsciously looked at Pei Sheng. Pei Sheng's body was trembling slightly as he quickly walked towards the direction where the mercenaries came from. The weeds and vines on the ground wrapped around his legs. He didn't feel anything as he forcefully pulled his legs closer to that side. Yi Qing Luo's brows knitted even tighter as she chased up while asking the Assistant Group Leader beside her, "What happened?" Zishi said that she smelled the essence gathering grass and insisted on coming inside to pick the herbs. A group of us followed over to help. Speaking of this, the Assistant Group Leader's expression turned ugly as he glanced at Pei Sheng's direction and retracted his gaze. When Zishi was picking the essence gathering grass, she alarmed the magical beasts in this area. The magical beasts' actions were too sudden, and before we had time to take action, Zishi was blown to the other side by the magical beast's breath. I don't know if she stepped on something or if there's an array there. Zishi disappeared into thin air. Yi Qing Luo looked towards the direction where the Assistant Group Leader was pointing. Not far away, there were a few stalks of essence gathering grass growing under a few ancient trees. There were also many rare herbs of excellent quality mixed in. As an apothecary, he couldn't resist the temptation of medicinal herbs. It was no wonder that Gu Zishi wanted to pick these herbs. And further ahead, that was the direction Gu Zishi had been flung in, the direction the Vice Leader had said. It was still an ancient forest that covered the sky and the earth. There was nothing special about it. Only by going there personally would he know why Gu Zishi had disappeared into thin air. Why do you know to look for me? How can you be so sure that I can save Zishi? Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways at the Vice Group Leader as her half-squinted eyes flashed a ray of brilliance. Vice Group Leader didn't notice Yi Qing Luo's gaze as he kept staring at the direction where Gu Zishi disappeared. His eyes filled with worry. After Zishi disappeared, we heard Zishi's voice shouting. Voice? Yi Qing Luo frowned. Shout what? Chapter 3564. Yi Qing Luo didn't respond immediately as her brows knitted even tighter. Seeing that Yi Qing Luo didn't take any action, the Vice Leader was obviously anxious. Miss D, Zishi kept calling your name before she disappeared. You must save her, right? The more he spoke, the more anxious he became. He stretched out his hand to grab Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes and moved her wrist to block the Vice Leader's outstretched hand. Zishi is my friend. I will try my best to save her. The Vice Leader was restless. I will go with you. I must confirm Zishi's safety. Yi Qing Luo looked at him and shifted her gaze to the place where Gu Zishi disappeared. Gu Zishi disappeared into thin air. It was too strange. If she didn't remember wrongly, before Gu Zishi left treasure gathering, she was still at treasure gathering having breakfast. But now, after she disappeared, she was able to accurately let the mercenaries run to the medical hall to look for her. How did Gu Zishi know that she would go to the medical hall? That person who asked for help, was it really Gu Zishi or someone else? If it was someone else, then what was the motive of the person behind it? There was a very uneasy feeling spreading in her heart, so uneasy that even the profound phoenix ring on her fingertip was emitting a scorching heat. Profound phoenix ring. There was a reaction. Yi Qing Luo's eyes suddenly lit up as she quickly lowered her head and stroked the profound phoenix ring with her slender fingers. The profound phoenix ring was the only medium for her to contact Xian. As long as the distance was close, she could use the profound phoenix ring to form a reaction with the profound dragon ring on Xian's hand. There was a reaction that meant she could sense a Xian. Yi Qing Luo's eyes stared at the flickering red light on the profound phoenix ring. She stared for a while. There was no special change on the surface of the profound phoenix ring. It was as if the scorching heat from before was just an illusion. She pursed her lips and couldn't hide the disappointment in her eyes. It seemed it was really an illusion because she was too uneasy. Miss D? Miss D? She heard a few calls. Yi Qing Luo regained her senses and saw the vice leader frowning and looking at her unhappily. He even waved his hands in front of her face. At this time, they had already reached the place where the bloody mercenaries were standing. The bloody mercenary group had about 60 to 70 people. The most eye-catching person was a tall and slender woman who was surrounded in the middle of the crowd. The reason why the woman was so eye-catching was not only because of her unique temperament. There was also the greenish-black, blood-red uniform that was different from everyone else's. The woman was dressed in a tan-colored, eye-catching attire. Red embroidery embroidered the outline of a blood-like flower. The woman's appearance was very elegant, like an orchid in an empty valley, exuding a pure beauty. However, the woman's eyes were firm and her gaze was like a torch. It made the woman's beautiful face look completely different, a powerful aura of arrogance that shook the heavens and shook the world. The two extremely contradictory temperaments fused together. But Yi Qing Luo didn't feel out of place at all. On the contrary, he felt that this woman should be like this, leader of the bloody mercenary group. Yi Qing Luo greeted the lady. The woman raised her eyebrows. Her torch-like eyes stared at Yi Qing Luo. How did you know I am the group leader? Generally speaking, a mercenary group, unless it was a female mercenary group, otherwise, there would basically not be a situation where a woman became the leader. So if they didn't explain. Chapter 3565. Yi Qing Luo was neither fast nor slow as she met the lady's gaze. I can tell that your aura is the most obvious here. Looks like I have to rein in my aura in future. The lady laughed lightly, but there wasn't any smile in between her brows. That's right, I'm the leader of blood color, Su Qingbing. You're indeed, like what Zixi said, a rare talent. No wonder she was the leader of the second ranked mercenary group. Every move she made was filled with oppressive might. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled. Now isn't the time to be courteous. Leader Su must be very anxious. Of course. Su Qingbing's vision looked towards the direction where Gu Zixi disappeared. If I wasn't the leader of blood color, I would have followed at the moment Zixi disappeared. It's right not to follow her. Yi Qing Luo could tell the sincerity in Su Qingbing's eyes. What she said wasn't just a polite greeting. Yi Qing Luo could tell that the relationship between her and Gu Zixi was very deep. As a group leader, there are many things that you have no choice but to do. No matter what happens, your identity is first the leader, then the brother, then the companion. Yi Qing Luo understood this point very well. If it was the time when she was in the world mercenary group, she would have made the same choice as Su Qingbing. It wasn't that she didn't care about Gu Zixi or her own brother, but the moment an unknown danger fell on them as the leader, as the backbone, the entire group's morale would be disrupted. The backbone absolutely couldn't have any accidents. Hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, Su Qingbing's expression changed slightly. Are you also a group leader? No. Yi Qing Luo shook her head and changed the topic. Did you send anyone over to check on the situation there? Su Qingbing didn't pursue further. Her worry towards Gu Zishi was greater than her curiosity towards Yi Qing Luo. She replied, "The magical beasts in this territory have been loitering around the surroundings. Once we make a move, there's a possibility of attracting the nearby magical beasts, and they will attack us together. I'm not sure what happened to Zishi, and if we act rashly, I'm afraid we might hurt her." Yi Qing Luo nodded. "I'll go over to take a look first. You guys help to lure the magical beasts away. After that, don't act rashly. Wait here for me and Zishi to return." It didn't matter if Gu Zishi's sudden appearance was an accident or a trap. She had to bring Gu Zishi back personally. If it was a trap, then this trap was definitely targeted at her. Saying that, Yi Qing Luo leapt upwards and skimmed towards the front. Just as he steadied himself, he sensed that someone was following him. She turned her head and saw Pei Sheng's pale face. "I want to go too." Yi Qing Luo didn't reject it, only saying, "Be careful. Follow me closely," and speedily headed towards the direction where Gu Zishi disappeared to. Yi Qing Luo's movements were extremely fast, but it still alarmed the magical beast. Su Qingbing and the others immediately tangled with the magical beasts, giving Yi Qing Luo and Pei Sheng a chance to get close to them. The two of them approached the place where Gu Zishi disappeared. Yi Qing Luo felt a gust of chilly wind blowing towards her. "This is bad, lass. This is a formation." In his mind, Old Man Song's surprised voice resounded. Yi Qing Luo's heart trembled. Formation? Which means that Zishi disappeared into thin air because she fell into the formation. You can say that. Old Man Song was solemn. "This aura is very strange. There's something strange about this formation." Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips. "Ah Sheng, it's very dangerous. Hold on tight to me." She stretched out her hand to grab Pei Sheng's arm, but before her hand could touch Pei Sheng, her 5 fingers grabbed empty air. Where was Pei Sheng's shadow behind her? Not only that, they were no longer surrounded by the lush forest from before. Even the blood mercenary group and the others had disappeared without a trace. Yi Qing Luo frowned fiercely. This was the illusion of the formation or another space. The situation had become more dangerous. She couldn't find Gu Zishi and Pei Sheng had disappeared. She had to quickly decode the formation in this place. Based on Old Man Song's words, they had stayed here for too long. It would be extremely harmful to Gu Zishi and Pei Sheng. Yi Qing Luo was preparing to sense the direction of the yin qi in the formation. Suddenly, a steady and powerful footstep was heard from behind. There was an extremely familiar scent lingering in his nostrils. Chapter 3566. Lil Luo. A familiar gentle voice called out her name. That voice was gentle and gentle, as though the name that voice called out was that person's most pitiful name. In Yi Qing Luo's pupils, it was reflected with that tall figure, like the scorching sun, using its scorching temperature to make all the fear and uneasiness in her heart completely dissipate. The man's face was peerless, and all the light in the void seemed to have gathered on him. His jet black hair fluttered, his purple robe billowed. The white fog which lingered in all directions surrounded him, floating in spirals. His entire person was indescribably elegant, indescribably evil. Yi Qing Luo's heart almost jumped out from her throat. Her eyes stared at him, staring at him greedily. Lil Luo. The man opened his mouth. His voice was so gentle that water could be squeezed out. He slowly walked towards her. Yi Qing Luo's petite body trembled slightly. Her feet were unable to move. Her slender fingers clenched tightly, as though she was suppressing the throbbing in her heart. "Ah, Xian!" A trembling voice spilled out from her pink lips. Her eyelashes fluttered violently. Her eyes almost turned red. The man in front of her wasn't he. "Dmo Xian." "It's me." Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes congealed deeply on Yi Qing Luo's face. "Lil Luo, it's me." He walked towards her. His imposing figure was tall and straight, bringing along a unique sandalwood scent which belonged to him. Yi Qing Luo, however, took a step back. Her slender fingers were deeply embedded into her flesh. She pursed her lips hard until her lips turned white. The man's footsteps, which was nearing her, stopped as his eyes stared at her. As though he understood what she was thinking, he laughed. "This is an illusion, but I am not an illusion." Yes, from the moment the man appeared. Yi Qing Luo was certain that this man in front of her was an illusion in the illusion. It was an illusion through her inner heart, trying to make use of Dmo Xian to confuse her heart. She didn't move, nor did she break the illusion in front of her, just because she missed Dmo Xian very much, thinking that even though she knew this man in front of her was an illusion, she still wanted to see his face. Hearing him call her little Luo, after the man explained, the girl still did not have any reaction. He sighed helplessly and immediately raised his left hand, using the back of his hand to face Yi Qing Luo. "Lil Luo, in order to find you, I've spent quite a lot of effort. If you're unable to recognize me at first sight, I'll be very sad." On the man's left hand, there was a red jade ring flowing with red light. Vaguely, a dragon head could be seen moving with the flowing light, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The netherworld dragon ring. Yi Qing Luo's eyes widened as she speedily raised her hand. As expected, the profound phoenix ring on her finger was also flashing with a red light. They were extremely agitated. It seemed to be communicating with the netherworld dragon ring. Only the appearance of the netherworld dragon ring could cause such a huge reaction from the netherworld phoenix ring. The person in front of them was really Ah Xian. The change in the profound phoenix ring that she had sensed outside the array was not an illusion. "Now, can you prove my identity?" Dmo Xian chuckled, his charming peach blossom eyes raised, looking very elegant. "Ah Xian." Yi Qing Luo bit her lower lip as her eyes turned even redder. Dmo Xian opened up his arms. "I'm very angry that you can't recognize me at first sight. How are you going to coax me?" The moment his arms opened up, the young lady had already dashed into his arms. Both her hands were tightly wrapped around his waist. Chapter 3567. Familiar body temperature. Familiar smell. Everything filled her nose. Dmo Xian, who felt that he was so needed, gave a soft laugh. His head rested on the young lady's head. His strong arms wrapped her petite body tightly in his arms. A familiar warm kiss fell on her face. Yi Qing Luo almost choked with sobs. "Ah Xian, I missed you so much. I missed you too." Dmo Xian's lips finally fell on her lips. The gentle touch swept away all the haze in her heart. He forcefully hugged her tightly, as if he was afraid of being separated from her again. Yi Qing Luo tiptoed, hooked her arms around his neck, and took the initiative to kiss him, until she was somewhat out of breath. The two of them then separated by some distance. Their foreheads touched each other's forehead. His eyes reflected the other party's face. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laugh. "We haven't seen each other for a few days, but it feels like we haven't seen each other for a few months. I feel that I really can't leave you." From the time she woke up in the Earth realm until today, it was only 3 days, but she felt that she hadn't seen Dmo Xian for a very long time. Hearing Yi Qing Luo's words, Dmo Xian's expression suddenly congealed as he suddenly pressed her shoulders and pulled apart the distance between them. He lowered his eyes and stared at her with his burning black eyes. "How many days?" "I've been looking for you for more than half a month." "More than half a month?" Yi Qing Luo was stunned. "I just arrived at Without Embroiling City. Today is the 3rd day. How could it be?" She paused. "Oh yes, I woke up 3 days ago near the city gate of Without Embroiling City. I was especially disheveled and unkempt." Dmo Xian couldn't possibly lie to her. Dmo Xian had been looking for her for half a month, which meant she had actually stayed in the Earth realm for more than half a month. Before she woke up 3 days ago, she might have been in a deep sleep all this while. This could also explain why she looked like she walked out of the beggar's sect when she woke up. Do you still remember where you were swept to in the upper realms passageway? Dmo Xian's expression turned grave. Yi Qing Luo shook her head. My memory is when I was in the passage to the upper realm, I was sucked away by a force and fainted. When I opened my eyes again, it was 3 days ago when the mysterious fairy of Without Embroiling City returned to the city. Dmo Xian frowned slightly. Do you know who brought me to Without Embroiling City? When she had been in the passageway, she hadn't noticed what power had sucked her away. Dmo Xian remained silent for a moment. It's the Nether Palace. Palace of Darkness. Yi Qing Luo's pupils suddenly contracted. Why did the people from Palace of Darkness suck me away for? Logically speaking, I lost my way in the passageway and should have been teleported to any other plane. However, when I opened my eyes, I was already in Without Embroiling City in the land. If it was someone from the Dark Palace, shouldn't they be trying their best to stop her from coming to the Earth Domain? Why did they send her to the Earth Domain? He even chose Without Embroiling City, which was the furthest away from Shadowless City. Most importantly, there were no signs of injury on her body. Her profound jade heart was still there. The sacred beast pearl in her body was still there. Nothing was missing. This wasn't the style of the Palace of Darkness. No matter how hard Yi Qing Luo scratched her head, she couldn't think of a reason. Dmo Xian was also unable to guess the motive of the Palace of Darkness's action. Chapter 3568. Yi Qing Luo raised her head in his arms. Her chin rested on his chest as she blinked. Are Kitty Cat and the rest with you? Mn. Dmo Xian's kiss landed on her nausea again. Kitty Cat has been looking for you all this time and suffered a lot. Kitty Cat, that lass. Just thinking about it, Yi Qing Luo could guess what kind of worrying things Kitty Cat would do to find her. She tightened her arms around Dmo Xian's waist. Ah Xian, are you in Shadowless City? Why is it that after I reach the Earth Realm, the profound Phoenix Ring and your profound Dragon Ring are unable to sense each other? Aren't the profound Phoenix Ring and the profound Dragon Ring separated by a space or different planes, so they are unable to sense each other? We have indeed reached Shadowless City. I know that if you are still in the Earth Realm, you will definitely come to Shadowless City to look for me. Dmo Xian held her hand as his slender fingers gently caressed the profound Phoenix Ring on her fingertip. Logically speaking, the profound Phoenix Ring and profound Dragon Ring's connection should be able to sense each other even if they are separated by 2 cities. His fingers interlaced with hers and interlocked with hers. He continued, not only the profound Dragon Ring is unable to sense you, even the blood connection between you and Kitty Cat has no reaction. Yi Qing Luo replied, Right, I am also unable to sense Kitty Cat. What is going on? Initially, I thought you were not in the Earth Realm. When Dmo Xian said this, his arms uncontrollably wrapped around Yi Qing Luo. His strong arms and the masculine pheromones emanating from the man's body were proclaiming how lucky he was in his heart. Fortunate that he had finally found her. Did you think I had been swept into another plane? Yi Qing Luo hugged him back. Yes, I almost barged into the upper realms passage. Dmo Xian's chin rubbed against her shoulder. Should I punish you for making me so worried? When he spoke, his breathing was very shallow, lightly sprinkled on her skin. Her cheeks were slightly flushed, and because of his words, her body was slightly hot. But her rationality had not been lost because of his seductive charm. She changed the topic. How did you know I was here? How did you come in? As soon as she finished speaking, Yi Zichen's eyes widened. Yi Qing Luo could obviously feel the man's body tensing up in an instant, although it was only for a moment. But Yi Qing Luo was certain that she had truly felt it. After tensing up for a moment, the man's body relaxed again, and his tone was very relaxed. I heard that a woman called Di Luo made a bet with the Empyrean lady of Without Embroiling City. She said that she would take out a treasure that would shock the entire Earth domain during Without Embroiling City's auction that is held once every 5 years. At this point he paused. His voice was low, magnetic, and hoarse. When I heard the name Di Luo, I rushed over. He laughed. His laughter was clear and smooth, coupled with his magnetic husky voice. His voice was like a feather tickling her heart. Di Luo, is little Luo are so impatient to take her husband's surname? Yi Qing Luo's face turned even redder. However, the more DMO Xian spoke, the more relaxed he became. The more he teased her, the more he diverted her attention. If she hadn't noticed the man's tension just now, she would really be cheated by the current DMO Xian. Chapter 3569. Ever since she stepped into the West Cliff Mountains formation, Yi Qing Luo had an ominous premonition. She had always felt that this formation was a ruse from the start, a scheme to make use of Gu Zixi to lure her into the formation. If it wasn't for Gu Zixi, she wouldn't have appeared in the West Cliff Mountain, nor would she have stepped into this formation. If DMO Xian only heard her name and came to Without Embroiling City, it was absolutely impossible for him to know that she was in the West Cliff Mountain. Thinking back to DMO Xian's first reaction earlier, DMO Xian could find her. I'm afraid. It wasn't that simple. Yi Qing Luo's expression suddenly turned solemn. She raised her hand and grabbed his lapel, then frowned. Ah, Xian, tell me, how did you find me? Her eyes locked onto him, saying word by word, I want to hear the truth. DMO Xian looked at her deeply. Then he sighed helplessly. Little Luo, sometimes don't be so smart. Ah, Xian. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips, her slender brows knitted into a ball. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. Previously, when he went to the upper realm, he left a trace of consciousness in her pendant, protecting her. But in fact, he was injured in the upper realm, and then his consciousness was injured in order to protect her. I am with you because I like you. I love you. I want to be with you forever. Yi Qing Luo looked at him closely. Her tone was very sincere. I don't want to increase your burden just because I am with you. I don't want you to get hurt every time because of me. Speaking of this, her voice was already choking a little. She wrapped her arms around DMO Xian's neck and buried herself deeply in his arms. Ah, Xian, I don't want anything to happen to you, just like you don't want to see any accidents happen to me. We love each other the same way. The young lady's sincere confession. This was the young lady putting her softest part in front of him. His heart felt like there was a warm current spreading. DMO Xian looked at her deeply. His eyes were burning like a raging fire. After some time, he seemed to admit defeat as he leaned against Yi Qing Luo's slender body and sighed deeply. Lil Luo, I can't win you in words, nor can I escape your eyes. Because what I said makes sense. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips. So, in order to find me, what harm have you done to yourself? The flames on DMO Xian's body instantly dissipated, and he looked at her pitifully as he spoke in a low voice. Then you can't be angry. Yi Qing Luo, her heart softened at the sudden cuteness. What should she do? That was against the rules. The man in front of her had a face of peerless elegance and a pair of shimmering peach blossom eyes that were filled with a pitiful feeling of being wronged. Anyone who looked at him would feel heartache. It was like déjà vu of a little puppy. This was completely different from when DMO Xian was poisoned by the loveworm. The DMO Xian at that time, although it still felt like a large, loyal dog, but at that time he was like a blank piece of paper. Other than being cute, there was only being cute. But now, DMO Xian's pitiful look, between his brows and that outstanding imposing manner, there was a kind of mischievous aura. The two merged together. Yi Qing Luo. Nosebleed. The more she looked at him, the cuter he looked. What should she do? This man must have known that she had no immunity to his face, always intentionally using the seduction tactic on her. Chapter 3570. Yi Qing Luo took a deep breath. I'm not angry. Really? Dmo Xian blinked his peach blossom eyes, vividly displaying his innocence. Yi Qing Luo took another deep breath and clenched her fists. Really? Dmo Xian revealed a satisfied smile. That smile was as dazzling as the warm sunlight, making his peerlessly handsome face appear even more pure and clean. A pair of shimmering black eyes were like rippling water, extremely dazzling. Yi Qing Luo couldn't bear it anymore. She raised her hands and covered Dmo Xian's face. Two small palms covered the man's mouth and eyes. Hurry up and tell me. I'll be angry if you don't. Yi Qing Luo really felt that her overlord was developing more and more into a coquettish fox. From time to time, he would seduce her soul. He wouldn't stop until he saw that she was head over heels in love with him. If this evildoer was seen by others, wouldn't it shock the world? Dmo Xian didn't tease her anymore. His eyes were full of tender smiles, like ripples of spring water unparalleled. He hugged the young lady tightly and spoke in a low voice. Calm down and listen to me. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips. Her face was full of displeasure. I'm very calm now. Dmo Xian caressed her fine black hair and immediately released her body as he took a step back. Yi Qing Luo frowned. The man's temperature disappeared instantly. She felt inexplicably flustered. She wanted to reach out and grab him again, but halfway, she clenched her fists and retracted them. She pursed her lips hard and looked up at him, waiting for his answer. After taking 2 steps back, the man gave a low laugh. That laughter was filled with helplessness. He opened his arms. His purple robe fluttered without any wind, like rolling clouds floating dust. Yi Qing Luo's hand on her chest clenched even tighter. A pair of charming eyes stared at Dmo Xian, not even daring to blink. Just at this moment, a gust of cold wind whistled past. The purple robe swayed with the wind. Swaying, Yi Qing Luo discovered that Dmo Xian's body started to become transparent in the wind, as if he was going to disappear at any time, especially in this dangerous array formation that was filled with yin qi. Dmo Xian's figure turned transparent, as though he was about to merge into one with the array. Yi Qing Luo's pupils suddenly widened. A layer of mist covered the bottom of her eyes. You're in a spirit body state now. Yes, the Dmo Xian in front of him was exactly the same as Old Man Song. He was a spiritual body. He was actually a spiritual body. What was going on? I knew that if you knew about this, you would definitely be sad. Looking at the young lady's shocked, guilty, and pained expression, Dmo Xian sighed helplessly. He walked towards Yi Qing Luo once again. Using this translucent spiritual body, he pulled her into his embrace. I didn't want to see you sad. That's why I didn't want to tell you. The body of the man in the spirit body state was no longer as warm as before. Instead, it carried a hint of coldness. His cold kiss landed on her forehead. I'd rather bear everything by myself than see you frown because of it. That kiss was like an icy spring, sliding down her forehead and into her body. As the kiss deepened, the man's body slowly solidified again. The temperature was also gradually rising.